is null
Talking
and
about like
void.
shipping an American citizen to Epstein. That's a shit comparison, by the way. I want to reiterate that as much as you think that makes sense, that makes no sense. How is it perfect? We're talking about something that's very legal to something that's illegal.
Because it drives you crazy.
Question that has
that's
already
why.
been answered by a very recent court decision.
Has
The court
Marbury v.
decision,
Madison been overthrown?
it's
Because
not
they
been
still quoted
overthrown.
in today's court hearings, by the way.
I recognize that. I do.
With the can you just
But
listen?
the question you're asking has already been answered. If the district court's
answering
pretty
the
if I can
question, you're
interrupt,
running away
'cause,
from the
like-
question and pivoting to other Supreme Court rulings that are not relevant to what I asked you.
Wait,
So the
how is
issue
CASA
being
not
that
relevant?
Marbury v. Madison has not been overturned because they just used this in the issue with putting a stop to nationwide injunctions that are coming out of the district court.
And
So
what was the
they
name
just
of the
put a halt
case
to that.
about nationwide injunctions, Millie?
The name of the case in reference to that, I mean, I can pull it up specifically with the Supreme Court, but that was already ruled upon recently. So can you stop running away from Marbury v. Madison and pull up the opinion where you said very confidently that I was wrong?
Yeah, because the case that they ruled on nationwide injunctions
do it.
is the CASA case, which is why I referred to it, because it's opining on the breadth and depth of the judiciary's powers at the district level. And they did not say in the CASA decision that they can't rule on constitutionality. They said they can't issue nationwide injunctions. The reason I don't think that we need to address the Marbury v. Madison case is because it's proven by 20 or 30 years of jurisprudence of district courts ruling on constitutionality. Why would I file a habeas claim stating that my Fifth Amendment rights have been violated with a district court if the
They're
district
not,
court can't
Blossom.
opine on it?
Okay, so Blossom, the big difference is whether or not you're challenging the executive branch, not whether you're challenging another party within your district about constitutionality. You're challenging
these
a
are
co-equal
challenging the
branch of
executive.
government.
All of these are challenging the
The
executive.
thing that I'd like to point
No,
out.
this is the
is
CASA
that-
case is specifically with universal injunctions. This
No,
has
no,
nothing
no.
to do with the actual authority of ruling on the actual constitutionality of an act that was passed and signed by the president.
No, but all of the cases that we're talking about with regards to the INA and the AEA are challenging the executive action, and they're going through the district courts and they are being upheld in pieces, right? We're seeing that the TROs are being kicked back because they're they're nationwide. They're not narrow enough, but they are not saying that they cannot bind within the context of the parties in front of them, which includes Trump. It's JGG v. Trump.
Yes, but the thing
And
is that
you
you have to
guys
look
can-
at too, okay, is the fact that with Trump's transparency in his presidency, this is bringing all of our immigration issues to light because this shit has been going on. If you look
What
at
a
when these rulings have been
stupid
made, okay, they've been around for decades. So here it is. This has been going on for at least the last 40 or 50 years, and all these presidents have always used these immigration issues as a campaigning factor, but never done anything about it. And now all of a sudden Trump's doing something about it and everyone's up in arms. So the thing is it's bringing things to light of what our problems are and it needs to be fixed. But to blame Orange Man bad and doing all this other stuff and then challenging each ruling is ridiculous.
Well, the way I look at it, the whole thing is that the Supreme Court made the right decision here. They don't always make the right decision because, as they say in the Federalist Papers, that Supreme Court justices, they are men, so they can be corrupted. But however, in the Federalist Papers 78, Madison talks about how the Supreme Court or the judicial branch is the weakest of the branches as they can only review law. However, if they were to create too many laws, there would be no reason to have an executive branch as the judicial would rule it all. And so here we have nationwide injunctions where it has no precedence, even in common law, and it was taken away from the sway or the balance of power. Now, there still is three opportunities that the judicial can take. They can do, of course, a class action, or multiple states can get involved, or the Supreme Court is open 20 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and things can be done pretty quickly. Like Timeco v. United States, 1971, was submitted on June 26th, and the dissenting opinion was done on June 30th. They still have options. There still is a balance of power, and the nationwide injunctions were unconstitutional. Bottom line.
So just to interrupt with a little bit of announcement, we've got over 285 people. They can tap the screen. This is brought to you by Unrealness Radio, 96.9 The Ho. Down in Idaho, no, but he'll know in Potato Town, yo.
The hoe is crazy, bro. Oh, man.
Get the hoe down in Potato Town. So tap that screen. It's free. Get up to 25,000. We've got 283 people.
All right.
And this is brought to you by the radio station IDHO.
I'm educating myself right now.
Important question that Blossom. I think that was a pretty important question that Blossom asked. If district courts can't rule on any of these things, why wouldn't everybody just take their case straight to the Supreme Court?
You
Class
can.
actions.
If the state is the party, then the Supreme Court have the original jurisdiction. This is laid out in Article 3, Section 4, or I believe Section 3. They have the original jurisdiction. Also, I'm reading the CASA decision right now. In all of the case where they're talking about constitutionality, this is talking specifically about party v. party and not party v. the executive.
The executive.
CASA is Trump v. CASA. It is executive v. CASA.
No, honey, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Don't call me honey,
What the
bitch.
Supreme Court is actually saying within this and all of the cases that they specifically cite, they're citing cases where the party v. party, where they're ruling on constitutionality, and not citing cases in which they're asking on constitutionality versus the executive.
The executive
Case
is a
is Trump v.
party.
CASA. It is executive
They're
v.
talking
CASA.
about universal injunctions, not ruling on constitutionality.
Yeah, that's the point, is that they never say that they can't rule on constitutionality in cases where they are ruling on constitutionality. That's not
Oh my God,
that's
this
not
is
a question.
Because
It's
there's
the
already a
strangest
case.
thing.
There's already a case on constitutionality, which would be Marbury v. Madison, which you refuse to go over, but that's okay.
Wait, I'm explicitly.
Go, Blossom.
No. Go ahead, Mojo.
Okay, my question is, if the district court rules on something, it goes to the appellate court rules on it as well, and then the Supreme Court refuses to take it. Is that a nationwide ruling?
Only if it's party v. party. The executive branch does not have to enforce. They're a co-equal branch of government. So in
And if
order
the
to
Supreme
actual
Court-
overthrow the constitutionality of a law that is passed by Congress, signed by the president, you would have to go through the Supreme Court to consider
You
that
didn't
law
answer my
invalid.
question.
What about all
You
these
didn't
judges,
answer my
though, that have
question.
been
You can't
politicized?
consider a law to be invalid without going through the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so if it
the
already
Supreme
has,
Court
if
refuses
there's already
to
a
take
landmark
it, if the
case,
Supreme
Mojo,
Court refuses to take it,
Bojo,
If-
I'm
Is it-
I'm not going to refuse to take it if there's not a landmark case. Go ahead.
Landmark does not mean
when-
constitutionality.
When was the Constitution signed?
Why is this relevant? The point
Because
is,
I'm going to go over what the actual Constitution listed this out to, because the Judiciary Act is not an amendment to the Constitution, correct?
correct.
Okay, so then the original
the Act of
Constitution
1802,
still stands,
final.
right?
I didn't hear you.
what is your point?
The thing is
The
that
fact is that the Constitution came
outlines
first, the Judiciary Act
president-
came after. The Marbury v. Madison case was trying to give authority to the courts to be able to rule on constitutionality, but that court be vested in one Supreme Court because the inferior courts had not yet been established until the Judiciary Act had been actually put in place.
Yeah, that was 1802. Gotcha. I don't know what your point is.
What does the year matter, by the way? I keep hearing this year
Constitution
weird
is
shit.
the Supreme Court of the land.
Listen, how long has Schmurder been illegal? Does the amount of years matter that much to you?
Marbury took
Wait,
place.
it
It's been
does.
illegal
Marbury
since
took
Well,
place
okay,
in a certain
sure,
year.
sure. But the whole point is
Marbury
that
took place in a certain year, and that gave wait. Marbury gave the Supreme Court the right to rule on constitutionality.
Well,
That's why the date matters.
Well, but here's the problem: is it once again Federalist Papers 10, as I said earlier, that Supreme Court justices are just men and they can be corrupted, so that the actual supreme law of the land is the Constitution itself.
Yeah, but I just don't like the politicization of these federal judges that have been writing these injunctions like doctors' prescriptions and have no basis, only to be turned down because they just were based on feelings and not fact. See, the thing is federal judges used to put these injunctions when they actually understood the Constitution and thought that there was a violation. But lately, especially these California ones being pressured by Newsom, all of a sudden they're going out there and just filing these injunctions just because they feel that it's wrong, not whether or not it's constitutionally wrong.
Okay.
What if a case of slavery is brought to a district court? Do you think that if that district court ruling and that TRO that's put on the case of slavery should be only applied to that district?
Such the talking point of the left every fucking time.
You can't answer my question.
Well, basis of constitutionality, is that the whole point?
If a case of slavery is seen in front of a district court and that district court puts a TRO on it, can that TRO or should that TRO only apply to that district?
There's already a whole amendment based off of this bullshit.
I understand.
Well,
now, do you understand my question?
Is the point to be backed by constitutionality though? Like if they're doing this universal injunction,
the point is that slavery is obviously unconstitutional.
Right.
So if a case of slavery comes up in front of a district court, if a case of slavery comes up in front of a district court and that district court puts a TRO on that case to make sure that nobody else can be taken as a slave, should it only be applied to that district or should be applied nationwide since it is obviously a constitutional issue?
Well, I mean, it would be the will, right? So if you're talking about morality versus law, so it'd be like the will of...
I'm talking about law.
Okay, if you're talking about law, it's already unconstitutional, right? So in order to place a universal injunction, when you have to justify it constitutionally, you can't just say I feel or I think. You actually have to show
justify what
the constitutionality of what the universal injunction is. Don't you have to point to how it's violating the Constitution or no?
Oh, sure, that would be what the case is for in front of the district court. But it's got to make its way up through the circuit court and then up to the Supreme Court before they can decide on that fully. So if that's the case, if one particular state takes this particular slavery case to a district court, should that TRO apply to the entire United States of America, or should the next day another state be allowed to hold another slave?
So is your claim only with that type of incident in slavery, or would it be applicable for other crimes?
No state shall make a law going against the Constitution.
That's why I was asking about the constitutionality. When you're justifying a universal injunction, you have to point to the Constitution and how it's applicable. That's the problem. That's
fine. That's exactly what I'm doing. It's obviously unconstitutional.
Right, but a lot of these universal injunctions, they're not pointing towards constitutionality. They're pointing towards could or should or might or they're not actually pointing to an article or a subsection of the Constitution. A lot of this is just like, this is my feels. I feel that it's unconstitutional. That is the problem.
So a nationwide injunction does not have to be based on constitutionality. So when they were allowed, right, nationwide injunctions were simply saying that this action is unlawful by some grounds, right? I would challenge you to find any court that issues a nationwide injunction without any statutory or constitutional basis cited within it. That's not correct. And just because
you're telling me there's no universal injunction that has cited constitutionality.
No, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I can name one.
I'm telling you that it's likely that some of these universal injunctions that you're referring to in carte blanche, right, have referred to statutory bases and not to constitutional, because you're not always going to the courts to challenge constitutionality. Sometimes you're just saying the statute is not right.
No, it's about the irreparable harm, and so what they ruled on is if you're going to rule on that, it needs to be within that state, or it needs to be done through those other processes.
Well, that's why I brought slavery into it, because slavery is obviously unconstitutional. So it should apply. It's obviously unconstitutional, so it should apply to the entire United States.
Okay,
of America. Yet this ruling CASA says that it only applies to that district, and that seems a little ridiculous, don't you think?
Okay, so in the Constitution, where does it give the powers for the whole naturalization, immigration, and stuff to the executive branch? Correct?
No, to Congress, actually.
No, it goes to the executive branch.
No,
Goes
it
to
goes
the
to
executive.
Congress.
No, it goes to the
Congress.
Who
Immigration goes to
enforces
Congress.
it? Who enforces it?
Hold on, stop.
That would
stop.
be the executive.
Can we do a galaxy on this one, me and you, Mojo? Come on, let's do it.
A galaxy? What are you talking about?
On if it goes to Congress or the executive. Let's do this. What do you got?
I don't even fucking know you, dude.
I'm no.
it's just money where your mouth is.
Congress
You have to
in
know
charge
to
of
make
the
this
immigration, then
I mean, if you're so confident, it's money where your mouth is. That's what he's
Be
saying.
able to go in there no
Yeah,
matter
put your
what.
money where your mouth is, Mojo.
Just look it up.
We don't. Yeah,
Well, put your money where your mouth is. We'll look it up. If you're so confident,
Yeah.
Again,
Money where your
I don't
mouth
even
is.
fucking know.
She's a runner. She's a track star.
the
A runner.
Who ran?
I have not gone anywhere.
I put a wager out. You seem so damn confident.
That's awesome.
Confident as a motherfucker.
I
Let's
am
see who-
absolutely
who did.
confident. So,
So-
go ahead and
All
pull
right.
it
Well,
up.
then let's do a galaxy.
Do you want me
on
to
it.
show it to you? Do you want me to show
Well,
it to you?
before
Is that
we
what you
show
want?
it, let's do a
let's
galaxy.
do it. Let's
on
have a wager in here,
So
even though this
I
is
have a
probably
question
illegal.
then. For Mojo and Blossom, where was all
Yeah,
this?
you're gonna get your
figure-
life taken down by saying this shit.
I didn't say. I didn't say anything.
You are.
All I said was
just
money where your
saying
mouth
you
is.
are.
That's all I said.
My question for you guys.
Wait, are you threatening to take my live down? Is that what you're trying to threaten me right now?
No, I'm not making a fucking threat.
Okay,
man. I
well,
run
be
lives
fucking
every
clear with
day.
your words
I run
then.
fucking lives. I run lives every day on here.
He's squirming
Don't worry
out of
about
it.
it.
That's all. That's his way of doing it. It's
Nah,
okay.
he's,
Go ahead. Let's move on.
he's trying to seed people's
The
thoughts.
thing is, Mojo and
I'm
Blossom.
just-
I would like to answer because I
maybe
you seem to
yeah,
be
you
the
obviously had
opposite of this.
intention, dude. You're fucking weird.
I'm just telling you, you're violating TOS when you do that.
So my question to you, Mojo and Blossom,
Weirdo.
where was all this ambitious involvement in immigration when Obama was doing the same thing with the same director
This is not about
of ICE?
For me, this isn't about immigration. It's about the Constitution. It's about our constitutional rights.
Okay, so it's been the same laws for the last 40 years. So
wait,
why?
wait.
all
I
of
won't
a sudden-
tolerate I won't tolerate racism. Get the fuck out of my life. Get the fuck out of here. Sorry. go
Wait,
on.
what? Who did what?
They reference my skin color. They can get the fuck out of my life. I don't tolerate racism. Go on. Sorry.
Oh, you mean slightly opaque?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bro, I shine in the dark. I'm telling you. Sorry. I just won't tolerate that shit.
But the thing is there was none of this was happening during Obama.
Yeah, seriously.
None of this
Don't reference my
wasn't
fucking skin
happening.
color.
And it's the same, it's the same director of, Homeland Security or ICE that was doing the same tactics and the same methods in the same ways. The only reason why I feel that this has been brought to light is the fact that the Democratic Party and liberals despise the orange man so bad that it's just they'll the guy can come up with a cure for cancer tomorrow and y'all would be bitching.
I don't know.
I don't know why I have so many.
Trump's
I don't know why I have so many
reason or
racists in my chat right now. Like, get the fuck out of my chat. Get out of here. Go spread your racist bullshit out of here or somewhere else.
Yeah,
What's
they
up?
complained about racism and they're so oppressed.
Yeah, they're a bunch of
that they-
racist
I don't-
weirdos.
I don't know
I
if-
will ban every single one of you. You think I give a
I don't
shit?
know.
I don't give a shit. Get out of here.
I
You
don't know if
racist
Tom-
weirdos.
Holy crap.
Sorry. What's up?
I don't know if you have tomfoolery in your. I don't know if you have tomfoolery in your request, but he is a YouTube live streamer. So if you want some exposure, you can pull him up. He'll stream it on YouTube if you want.
Just as long as he doesn't
If you
expose
want to have him on
himself.
the panel. He's not going to expose himself. He's been doing.
You
YouTube
said
for
exposure.
I mean, is anyone? Let's be honest here. Is anyone here right now? Is anyone?
I mean,
Raise
if you're interested,
show of hands. Is anyone here a constitutional lawyer?
I'm taking a
no.
constitutional class
Just-
on Harvard Online.
Just
right
clarify.
now.
Just want to make sure that I just want to make sure that I'm a.
I saw the Schoolhouse Rock.
Approach. Hey, let me go read the back of my cereal box. Constitutional Wheaties.
So I feel like we came full circle at this point, right? So we'll see how these
I feel
cases.
like
We'll see how these
And
cases
guess
go.
what we solved in the last half hour?
I mean, I'll tell you what. I've been reading like crazy for the Trump Casa thing to the JGG v Trump to the. I've been reading like a madman. My brain is mush right now.
That's good. It's a good thing.
Buddy.
I mean, I did read the JGG like briefly the other day, but I was reading like basically the footnotes. I wasn't trying to get like super deep into it, but now I'm all over the. Now I'm over.
Well,
the
like
place.
I pointed out, I'm really glad that this has actually come to light. The fact that Trump has been transparent on this issue is what made everyone aware, because for decades, no one knew anything that ICE was doing or how they were doing it or what was going on. These people were getting the same treatment now as they were 5, 10, 15 years ago. The only difference now is these ICE agents are being followed around like an episode of Cops with cameras, and it's bringing it to light. So do we have an immigration problem? Oh, yeah, more, without a doubt. But these are the same laws and rules that Trump is using that have been in use for the last 40 years. Or longer.
I mean, I don't know of a single example of past administrations that were sending people into war-torn nations where they were likely to be sold into slavery.
That you knew of.
Maybe.
Yeah, so
that's the
what I
problem
think is
too.
crazy.
We live in this
Yeah,
this
what I think
age of information that's unprecedented, and we can probably go back and dig up some dirt on pretty much every president for sure, without a doubt.
I can't wait for like the one actual American citizen to accidentally get reported and have them lose their minds on it. And because since the birth of this nation, I think it's close to 3,000 people have accidentally been deported that were American citizens. And if if one happens under Trump, holy shit, people are going to lose their minds.
It's got to be a really interesting time to be president. That's all I'm saying. It's got to be.
The thing is
Shouldn't
my
you
wife,
lose your mind if that happens to an American citizen? Shouldn't you lose your mind?
I mean, I don't want it to happen to an American citizen, but I mean, I also understand there's gonna be cracks in every process. I mean, nothing's like completely smooth, but I think it's important that the administration tries
to.
Well, what's important, I think, is that the administration. Listen, I don't agree with everything Trump has done. Okay, believe me, but I think that's important, and I know Trump has more or less failed in some regards when it comes to all this, but. If something is seen as like, oh, we fucked up, like, yeah, you probably should try to fix it, but if you're not, if they're privy to more information than we are. Like, we don't know all these individuals or all their tattoos or all their backgrounds or like what the other country's information is until these things get to courtrooms. I think that we're all just, a lot of this is just assumptions right now.
Well, absolutely.
Hence the reason that we give them due process,
right? And they're getting
the reason they get due process.
Well, that's what they're getting.
They were sent to another country and put in prison without due process.
Right, and I agree. If they want to challenge that, that's fine. But until then,
they shouldn't have been sent there in the first place.
Well, I don't know what the circumstances are. Do you? Do you know what the circumstances of every single individual?
I know what the circunstance of the Constitution is, and that is that they get. But
you don't understand. You don't understand how the State Department works then. And what their privileges are. I mean, whether you determine they are okay or moral or right or whatever, that's not really up to you.
What due process?
I'm talking about the Constitution.
Well, I mean,
what due process? What was
habeas corpus?
I mean, okay, what if Trump? What if Donald Trump tomorrow? What if Donald Trump tomorrow issued Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2? What if he did that? Is that constitutional? If he wanted to suspend habeas corpus on people who are designated as terror groups on these particular people, because under the Alien Enemies Act, could he not do that? I mean, the greatest president of our time, right? Abraham Lincoln. That's what he did, right?
No, actually, I think there was
this is the thing about
the ruling that said he can't do that. Actually,
is it when it comes to national security?
The greatest dictator of our time, best.
This is why they allow the executive branch to just hit the edges of like balancing over unconstitutional and back, as long as they don't cross it. But our founders, they're the ones that did the Alien Enemies Act. They realized, well, there may be times that we may need to go do extraordinary things under extraordinary circumstances, and that was under them.
Lincoln was a dictator. Okay, yeah, I would say suspending habeas corpus
for it later. Our Supreme Court apologized for it later.
But we freed the slaves.
The Supreme Court apologized for it. It makes sense.
I mean, habeas corpus is like literally the foundational original access to due process.
What is your thoughts then? Blossom, what is your thoughts about Abraham Lincoln suspending it then?
I don't know enough about that. But what I will say is that I don't think that Trump could unilaterally do that. He would still be subject to judicial review. And I think he would be heavily challenged by
You're
it.
basing everything off of
Claiming you
habeas
didn't
corpus.
know. Hold on one second. You're claiming that you didn't know that Abe Lincoln suspended habeas corpus.
The
during
greatest
Civil
dictator
War
of all
to
time,
lock up the
baby.
Confederates.
No, I'm not claiming I didn't know. I don't know enough to opine on it, like more in depth.
What,
really
what
should.
more do you need to know?
Okay. So habeas corpus, okay, you would say
Like, what
is the fundamental
context do you
protection
need?
against unlawful
I
detention.
mean, it's
correct?
bad, Millie. Do you want me to say that? I disagree with suspending habeas corpus. I don't know enough about the
We're just
history. I haven't
asking
read
if it's
about it.
legal. We're just asking if it was legal. because
Yeah,
it
that's all I'm
was.
asking. Yeah, was it legal? Article 1, Section 9,
I
Clause
would
2.
contend no, but again, I don't know
It's
enough
literally
about what was
constitutional.
done
What do you
at the time to give you more information. I'm saying I don't know. I don't know what else you want me to say.
I mean,
Okay, so
go ahead.
you're basing this all on habeas corpus, okay, as one of their things, and you would say that habeas corpus is the fundamental protection against the unlawful detention, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what is unlawful about their detention?
So for
Do they have documents?
CCOT,
But do they have documents?
wait, that's not relevant. For CCOT, are you asking me what's unlawful about their detention
No,
in
I'm talking about
CCOT?
the habeas corpus with all the due process that everyone's screaming for these immigrants that are or undocumented citizens. How are
so-
they unlawfully detained?
Okay,
or
so
unlawful in detention? Sorry.
So that's why this is confusing, because habeas is meant to challenge your detainment, but in many cases it's being used to challenge removal. And that's why it's weird that SCOTUS said they should follow this particular path, because it doesn't quite fit. It used to be that you would use habeas to challenge the fact that you were detained in a county prison unlawfully, right? But if you want to ask what's unlawful, well, I would contend that it's unlawful that they were moved to CCOT without access to a lawyer, without the ability to go before court to be heard, and why they shouldn't be put in a supermax prison without access to a legal avenue to get out, or even a hearing to tell them how long they'll be there. Similarly, I don't think that it's right that we're sending people to a third world country without being able to challenge the seek a convention against torture relief, for example, especially when we know there is immigrant slave trade
Then
there.
instead of complaining about Trump, go to your congressman and have them change the law.
I'm complaining about Trump because Trump's the one that's doing it, and I do have a congressman that I talk to regularly.
He didn't just make these laws and pull it out
So
of his
there is-
ass. They've been in the system forever.
Can we address the fact, 1 second, can we address the fact that you said that they're being sent to a third world country? They came from a third world country. Venezuela is not first world.
Sorry, I meant a third country. That was I misspoke.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
so
sorry.
I would
So,
ask
Ron,
this
Although
question.
Libya is
If I may, real quick, if I may.
my
So my question to you, Blossom, is okay. So these people that are being sent to South Sudan, right? Now these people are criminals, right? The ones that are going there. Now, the problem here is that their country doesn't want them back. So if we don't want them in their country of where they came from, the one that they're under the jurisdiction thereof, what do you expect to do with them at that point then?
See, the original intent of habeas
Okay.
No, hold on. I'm asking Blossom a question. I want her just to answer
We-
it.
we have
There's no
full-
right or wrong answer.
We have full capability of imprisoning those people here, but my point being is that I
No, but no.
I
What do
think
you-
and this is for host too. I am not here to defend the crimes that anybody who is caught up in this have committed that they should be tried for. Many of the people, if I remember right, who are sitting in Djibouti who were deported to South Sudan last week had served their sentences. And so now the answer, what is the question? Did they not do enough to serve
Well,
their sentence?
let me-
If we don't want them and they've served their sentence, is it not possible to find a third country that will take them where they won't experience torture or be sold into slavery? Why is that a sentence that we
Do you
have the
proof they're
authority
being
to
sold into
grant them?
slavery? Hold on. Do you have proof of this?
Yeah, who?
Yeah,
Yes, it's well documented in
South
both
Sudan?
Libya and South Sudan that there
No.
are
Out
immigrant
of the
slave
people we're
trades
sending there,
happening.
Who are the people that were sending there? The criminals, right? And then which one of them got sent into slavery?
No, no, no.
Okay,
The
I'm sorry.
point is
Wait,
that they'll be
that's-
at risk of being sent into slavery because that happens in both countries, Libya and South Sudan,
how are they at
where they have
risk?
tried to send immigrants. That is what you do when you file a convention against torture. You say, I have a credible fear of experiencing one of these things when I am being sent to the location you're trying to send me to, and I shouldn't be sent there.
So the approach, it would be like if your child went to Jeffrey Epstein's island, they might be at risk of being raped. You understand that?
Okay. I mean, that's a false equivalency,
That
but
came
real
out
fast.
far left field.
No, that's a great fucking analogy. What do you?
Well, it's not. You're comparing. You're comparing.
I can see that now.
But here's the thing. Okay, so when we're talking about suspension of habeas corpus, you know Ulysses S. Grant, right? So you know he used it also against the Triple K. That's another point of research, right? What a great dictator, by the way. Grant was a great dictator, one of the greatest dictators of all time.
Well, see, the thing is habeas corpus, Blossom, is meant for, like, if I was the government and I put you in a cell and you're sitting there with your thumb up your ass wondering why, okay? And there's absolutely no rhyme or reason why I would confine you or put you in a detention center or whatever the case may be. So then that's when you have the rights for habeas corpus. There is a reason why that these people are in detainment. They don't have documents. So therefore, your habeas corpus bullshit is null.
Talking about like shipping an American citizen to Epstein. That's a shit comparison, by the way. I want to reiterate that. As much as you think that makes sense, that makes no sense. How is it perfect? We're talking about something that's very legal to something that's illegal.
Because it drives you crazy. That's why.
Yeah, you're so
because
silly.
It's a great app comparison.
Listen, do you think the suspension of habeas? Do you think the suspension of habeas corpus was good to eradicate the Triple K, at least for the most part? Do you think that was a good decision by Grant?
No, you should not suspend constitutional rights, even if it is for the worst of the worst. That is why. That's why groups like ACLU will go and defend Nazis'
So with that
rights to free
mindset,
speech
we
in
would
court.
still probably have slavery. You realize that? Again, go back to Abraham
No, because
Lincoln.
slavery is a violation of your
But it
constitutional
wasn't then.
rights.
It wasn't then. Is what you're not getting.
Absolutely was then.
During during the Civil War. What? Wait, what?
Not.
Do you know
No,
when the
it fucking
Emancipation
wasn't.
Proclamation was signed? Do you have any idea what you're fucking
Yes,
talking
I'm
about?
well aware,
Okay, so
but
when was
I would
habeas corpus
argue-
denied?
No,
when was
no,
habeas
I would
corpus denied?
argue-
1961.
No,
So you have no, or 1861. You have
just
no idea what you're talking
because-
about.
just
The greatest
because-
dictator of
just
all time,
because-
baby.
Just because they did not recognize slaves as people does not mean that their rights were not
Yeah. So
violated.
when were their
That
rights
they
given
should
to
not
them?
have been
What rights did they
recognized as
have?
people.
What rights did they have?
But they didn't have
How do you
any
violate
then.
rights of somebody who didn't have the rights?
Well, what does the Fifth Amendment say?
When did the Fifth Amendment? When was the Fifth Amendment enacted? And who did
I
it
don't know.
pertain
You
to?
tell me.
No, you tell me. You're the one who brought it up. Go ahead.
You don't know when the Fifth Amendment.
You tell me.
It pertained to all people
Tell me.
standing on American soil. It pertained to all people standing on American soil. That's what the Fifth Amendment did.
1791 was when the Fifth Amendment was ratified.
And who did it pertain to? Who did it pertain to? Who?
Yeah, exactly. It was
All
interpreted
people,
to.
all
Whites?
people standing on American soil. All people standing on American soil. It specifically says so.
Go. That's all it says.
Problem is legally, they weren't considered people. They were considered
Exactly.
property.
They were considered property because they were slaves. They don't have rights at this time, dipshit.
Everyone's equal.
Oh my God! You're adding rights that they didn't get. They didn't get it in the future.
Were they people?
They are. Yes, I believe they were, but at the time they weren't. You're not applying. You're applying today.
They were people.
Hey, idiot! You're applying to today's standards, moron. You're applying today's standards to then.
They were people.
You're an
Okay,
idiot.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I agree.
Wait,
of course, I do agree.
They were people then too.
You're playing to emotions. You're a moron. Were they people then?
Fifth Amendment applies
Were
to
they
all
considered people then?
Wait,
Were they considered people then?
Yes, they were.
No, they
people.
weren't. They were
Yes,
not considered people then.
They were
Wait, I'm
fucking.
sorry.
They were not
Wait,
considered
guys,
then.
yes,
They were
they
considered
were.
property then.
I'm
crazy.
Wait, I'm sorry.
You're
When
fucking-
you look at, I'm sorry. When
You're
you look at the
so
Civil War.
yes, thank you. What about 3/5? Yeah, that's my fucking point. Yes, I think they are people. I always thought they were people. I will forever think they were people. But back then, you can't apply today's moral standards to that time's moral standards. That's a logical fucking fallacy, and you're a loser for trying to do that. You sound so stupid.
You're trying to compare the Fifth Amendment, which was ratified in 1791,
Why?
to
Like
Why
you're
all the
trying to make me look
1870s.
bad.
You're getting your ass
Almost
kicked,
100
and you
years
start
later.
No,
calling
you're
everybody
stupid.
names.
You're
You
stupid
look
because you
bad
think
yourself,
you
dude.
think
You
you
look
think
bad
you're trying to
yourself.
apply. You're
You
trying to apply.
absolutely know
You're trying
I'm
to
not
apply that back then. You're trying to apply me to how like me agreeing to how they thought back then. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to say that that's what they thought back then. That's what they believed back then.
Wait, host.
That's what a lot. What's that?
What is originalism?
What is originalism? Oh God, you tell me.
Because that's exactly what the Supreme Court's ethos is right now. The majority of the right-leaning justices on the Supreme Court argue that you need to follow text, history, and tradition when you're interpreting the Constitution, which means you need to look at when it was written and what they were talking about, which is why Approach was referring to the Federalist Papers. In fact, that's the only way to interpret the Constitution.
No, it's
Yes.
not.
No,
Yes,
what?
that is
No,
exactly
hold
what
on,
their ethos
stop.
is.
I gotta stop you there. So what they had was the Black Laws 4th edition. Okay, so the Federalist Papers was more of just like a roadmap of understanding, the constitutional what's a convention that they had. No, it actually was not the way they interpreted. The way they interpreted was through the law dictionary.
No,
Black Laws
Approach.
4th edition.
I'm not talking about the way. I am saying right now, this Supreme Court does exactly what Host took contention with Mojo for doing, which is holding you to interpreting the Constitution today, applying it to laws and issues today.
Right, but those
exactly
but
the way
you're
that
ignoring all the shit that is between those. That's my point. Yes, I agree with those changes.
That is the whole point from the left. That is exactly why the left doesn't agree with originalism, because you ignore everything in between.
We're not ignoring everything in between.
Clarence Thomas wrote in his Bruin decision 2 or 3 years ago that maybe we should ignore all 20th century law with regards to the Second Amendment. Why would I ignore all 20th century law with regards to the Second Amendment when we know the way?
My point being, those other amendments didn't even exist. That's my point. Those amendments didn't exist. These aren't acts or laws. These are
in the founding era.
One second.
Oh my God.
What is the Dred Scott decision?
The Dred Scott decision said that Black Americans or slaves did not have rights.
Oh, okay. So Blossom, back then during that
exist
period
at
of
the time.
time, a court had reviewed the Constitution, had actually reviewed the Fifth Amendment, in which both you and Mojo are referring to, and they overthrew your decision during that period of time based off the information that you guys both provided. So you're both wrong. And that's why they had to pass the 13th and 14th Amendment to give them citizenship, because they were still acknowledged as being property during that period of time according to the Constitution.
That's my
So
point.
you may not like it. Nobody likes it looking back on it, and it's dirty and it's gross and it's awful.
What Mojo
But
was
during
trying to
that
do-
period of time, that's what happened.
What
but
what he
I'm
was trying to do
saying-
was apply my thinking to the past, and that was disingenuous and stupid. That's my point. I don't believe.
My whole
No, but
I don't believe that now. No, you're being a disingenuous weirdo trying to apply my thinking to the past. Because
We're talking about court cases today.
Black
We're
individuals were
talking about
not
court
considered
cases today.
were not considered people at the time. Is my point. We're not at the time. At the time,
Yeah,
why do you
but
not
today
understand
they
that?
are.
Yes,
Today
they are. You're
and
so
we're talking
right.
about
But I'm
court
talking
cases
about at the
today.
time. That was the whole
Okay, wait,
argument.
Yes, and we're talking about court cases today.
I don't understand this. I'm sorry. Mojo, just to clarify, are
God,
you saying that
such a disingenuous weirdo?
Jesus Christ? Are you saying that as originalists?
What is this ad homs? Why
It's
can't
not
you
ad homs. I
ignore
think you're a
human being
disingenuous weirdo. That's not ad hom. That's fact.
Okay, so
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
trying to say,
Dude, you
I
gotta
think
take a
that
logic class.
absolutely is.
No,
Yes,
no,
it
no,
is.
no, no. You're
That's
applying. You're
really
trying to
do.
imply that I believe how they thought back then. You were trying to group me into
I
of
didn't
the
imply
mindset.
anything.
You were
I'm sorry
implying
you
that.
feel that way.
No, it's not how I feel. It's what you were trying to do, kid.
No, this
Radio
is just your feelers,
interruption.
man.
So-
Stop
You're
being a
so
snowflake.
weird. You're so weird.
Cow, buddy.
Hold on.
Snowflake, dude.
Guys,
Stop
guys,
being
You're
a
not a
snowflake.
snowflake.
350
I think-
people. Tap the screen and get up to
The guy has a
30,000.
picture. What is that? A cat? You're calling me a snowflake? That's weird, dude. That's weird.
So-
You can see my
Yeah,
fucking
you're a
face.
fucking
You have a
snowflake.
cat.
Yeah,
You're like a
Mojo,
cat.
so
You're the
bro.
one crashing out here.
Mojo,
dude.
you're crashing out, bro, because you're
crashing out.
trying to apply the thinking
Yeah. Does
back
it sound
then.
like I'm crashing out?
You do sound like you're crashing out. You
I
absolutely
just
do.
think it's disingenuous.
Okay, wait,
Yeah, because
that-
you're a
wait,
disingenuous
I
weirdo.
didn't
Hold on.
chance to speak. I'm going to crash if I don't give him a
Well,
chance to speak.
just one
Mojo, are
second.
you
I
saying?
just
Wait, no,
wanna
I'm
point out-
Millie, I'm sorry, you've been yapping all day. Okay,
I've
Mojo,
not been yapping all day, actually.
Yes, you have. I'm
In fact, I was
Okay,
here before
fuck.
you,
First
Cringy.
off, cringy. Don't be a disrespectful weirdo.
I just want to say one thing and I'll shut the fuck up. I think it's disingenuous that when I asked Blossom directly about the Dred Scott case, she knew exactly what it was. So you sitting here pretending to feign ignorance over the fact that you didn't understand that Dred Scott referred directly to the Fifth Amendment while still trying to berate unrealness is the most disingenuous part of this argument between Mojo and Blossom arguing on the Fifth Amendment. Because you guys are both sitting here trying to pretend like you didn't know what the Dred Scott decision was. But when I asked Blossom directly, she knew exactly what it was.
I'm not trying to pretend. My whole point of stating that is that I think that the Fifth Amendment should have always and has now been interpreted to apply to all people standing on soil, as it was written, as Mojo stated. I understand that that's not how it was applied at the time.
So why are you being disingenuous and trying to apply that to what I was saying? When black people were not perceived as people at the time, that was my point. So you're being disingenuous and you're trying to apply my thinking to how they thought back then. That was my point.
I have a question. Wait. I'm sorry. I have a question. So,
fuck.
Mojo and Blossom, are you guys saying that originalists must interpret the Constitution as it was interpreted back then, which would logically lead them to the decision that black people aren't people or something, shit like that?
I'm saying no. Because if you want to be a true originalist, and we'll find out if this court is, then you have to acknowledge things like the 14th Amendment and its contemporary contextualism as well. So you cannot ignore that. But I do think that originalists have to pick and choose their text, history, and tradition. For example, highly relevant, Ketanji Brown Jackson in one of her recent decisions, I think it was, I can't remember, she referred to the colored conventions, which was a series of meetings between Black activists during the antebellum era, advocating for their rights and talking about how they could seek citizenship. I do think that was in the dissent in the CASA decision. So, but that doesn't come up. Like things like that often don't come up in originalist decisions, frequently because they're looking through the eye of a very narrow set of contextual information. So that is my point. They pick and choose.
You know what the originalist connection to the judicial branch was?
I don't know what you're referring to.
It was to stop activist judges, basically.
Oh my God.
Okay.
It was. That's what the relationship was.
Yeah, and they failed. Originalism does not stop activist judges. It just gives them a different avenue
of their connection to the judicial. That's all I'm saying.
With their originalist interpretations.
I'm just saying, look it up. That's what it was.
No, I know, but it came around in the 70s in response to a series of what is perceived as extremely liberal decisions coming out of the Blackmun court, for example. And so that's what this is a very new method of interpreting the Constitution. It is in response to decisions that they did not like and seeks to be more conservative in its presentation. That doesn't mean that it's any less activist in action.
Oh my God. As I said before, this whole thing is just ridiculous now. I don't even know why we're still arguing about this.
Wait, I'm sorry, I have a question. Do you think that illegal immigrants should have the right to due process, or like, what's your opinion on that?
It depends on the type of due process. Like when it comes to their, deportations, they're not going to get like a jury of their peers or anything.
What is going on right now?
Somebody's cutting out. Lost
Thank
service.
you, Mo.
I'm not cutting out. My internet. My connection looks good.
No, it's not. It's not you.
Okay.
No,
it's just talking. It's cutting out.
It's
All
me.
right.
Sorry.
I was tripping out there for a second.
No, sorry. I was connecting to my Wi-Fi. My bad.
MAGA Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no,
how
they
original.
don't get the same type of due process. So I mean, it just depends on what you talk about.
What do you mean they don't get the same time? What do you mean by that?
They don't get like a jury of their peers or anything like that when they're being deported. That's not like, it's not the same.
I guess I know there's
that's
like
because it's a civil case. That's because it's a civil case. You don't get a right to a jury in a civil case. You don't get a right to a lawyer in a civil case.
Well, you can have a lawyer. You just not appointed one.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You have to buy one.
exactly.
You have to buy one yourself.
Exactly. And that's the way all civil cases work. They have the same process that we have.
approach. Do you think they have the right to challenge their deportation?
I believe that they do, unless they're deported under the Alien Enemies Act. Then it is at the discretion of the
Department.
Secretary of State. And if you look at 8 USC 1533, it can even be under classified information.
But they get habeas filings under the Alien Enemies Act, correct?
Well, no.
Yes,
we
but
haven't
not
ruled
under
on
the
that yet.
INA.
Not under what?
It hasn't been ruled over yet, and that the Supreme Court is still taking that on.
Oh my God!
You
Jesus
stated
Christ.
earlier that
They're
they didn't
so
use the
fucking
INA,
slow.
right?
Holy shit! Dude.
Well, yeah, we have
So under JGG, sorry, go ahead.
no,
Go ahead.
it's all good. Sorry.
Well, under JGG, which I read the decision out to you, the Supreme Court said that they can file habeas in regards to the AEA. They made that decision recently that they could do that and bring their case in habeas. However, under the INA, habeas is only simply for judicial review as far as the merits of the case. They cannot look at the merits of the case. That is left to the immigration courts. That's why when
So
Blossom
they
was
can look at the
mentioning
merits of the
earlier about-
case.
Yeah, they can't. They can only look as to the charges of which the person is being detained on. They can't actually rule upon the merits of which they're available for deportation.
Then what are they ruling on?
They're ruling on whether or not the charge to bring them in for detainment is valid.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I would think that they're ruling on whether they have the right to the civil process for immigrants.
Habeas is just ruling on detainment.
We have Florida deputizing National Guard lawyers to be immigration judges.
Really?
Yeah.
When did the state have power to enforce immigration law? Whatever. I don't know.
What?
They don't.
I mean, they don't have the power. I mean, they could be like deputized, I guess, but I mean, they don't directly have the power.
Hence the reason we have sanctuary states.
Yeah, well, those are actually being attacked right now. Thank goodness. So, Bill Asaley,
Yeah.
who is a district member here in
Unless you change the
California.
Constitution, it doesn't go away.
May I finish? Thank you. So, Bill Asaley, who was a district member from Riverside, California, I mean, they really did this guy dirty. I mean, they literally kicked him off of his own committee when he was on to shit. But now that he's working for Trump, he just came into California and talked to Bass here in Los Angeles and said, let me show you this part of the Constitution where sanctuary cities are unconstitutional. So shit's happening right now. Just to warn y'all.
Unconstitutional. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Hold our fucking beer and watch what happens.
I don't think state and local governments are.
Guess we'll see what happens, won't we?
It's not mandatory for state and local governments to get
Guess we'll
information
see what happens, won't we? There, cringe.
about their citizens, is it?
Again, I want to
Okay, well, I mean, if
reiterate,
you're
nobody's a
saying that,
constitutional lawyer here.
I'm sorry. It also must be. Okay,
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
Approach. If you're saying that, then it also must be true that the federal government can force states to do like all their Medicaid BS. But
Well, no. The states can't hold back the executive branch from doing what they're lawfully allowed to do, and that is deport people.
okay, wait. I'm sorry,
Have
Blossom.
you-
Maybe you're more informed with this. Wasn't there some shit with the Medicaid and states not wanting, and federal government trying to force that onto states? And states
I don't know about that, but I can say that with regards to immigration, they have ruled that the federal government cannot require local law enforcement to carry out immigration.
They just can't be in their
action.
way. They have to stay out of their way if they want to enforce. They can't block the enforcement of the
They
federal
can't
government.
block them, but the federal government also can't mandate that local law enforcement do that. Like they can deputize them, which is the 280G, but it specifically has been ruled that they can't
Well, they
tell
need to
them
be.
to do this.
They can become marshals and do it. But so the problem here is that these states, they have the right to the privacy of their citizens, states' rights, and so on. But sanctuary cities actually holds crucial data back, that they don't give it to ICE and to the executive branch when it comes to like DMV records of illegal immigrants. And
They don't
things
have
like
to.
that.
That's the point.
Well,
They don't have
they're
to.
illegal immigrants. They're not citizens, so that's the whole point in which
It
they're.
doesn't matter. They don't have to give any.
Well, we'll
information to the
see.
federal
Hold our
government.
fucking beer once again. We're gonna find out here real
Yeah,
soon,
yeah,
guys.
yeah. You're gonna find out you're wrong, and I'm curious
Okay.
about this whole "we're not a constitutional lawyer" thing. Host, have you ever served in politics? You ever worked at your state house? You ever been in legislative affairs? You ever worked as a lobbyist?
No.
Then, but
Do-
you're on
do you-
here
do you-
talking
do you-
about politics. You're on here talking about politics all the time. Right?
I mean, I'm on here talking about politics, yes, but not always pertaining to just court cases. I mean, that's.
All right. So, but we have.
But
the
I
right-
mean,
we
like
have
the
right-
point. My point being,
Talk
do you have
about
a
court
law
cases.
degree? Wait.
We have-
Do you have a law degree?
I do not.
Okay, so why
We
the
have
fuck
right
are
to
you? Why are
talk
you coming
about-
at me
we
now?
have a- we
Yeah,
have-
you have a right to talk
because
about it.
you're the
Sure,
one
I just
who
want to make it clear that none of us are
You're-
constitutional lawyers. I don't think that's a fucking thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to point out.
It's a red herring. Look at you can be an auto.
way you said it
What?
sounded like the
still
person-
I just said none of us. Which I don't know if you know if when I say us, I includes me, bro. Does that compute?
Okay.
Okay.
Just sounded like an attack.
No, it's not an attack. I'm actually putting myself in that position as well when I say us, including me.
Okay, I apologize. I'm
definitely not a constitutional lawyer. I am learning slowly but surely as I go through a lot of these litigate and all these old cases.
To finding.
Okay.
I might be a little behind on some of these things, but I'm trying to catch up. I promise.
Approach if the federal government can't compel states to participate in Medicaid, then why the heck could it compel states to?
I'm sorry,
kind of
participate in
information?
Medicaid? No. See, here we go again. So the federal government can absolutely decide that they don't want to spend their money on Medicaid when it comes to illegal immigrants. This is exactly
That's
what's
not what I said.
Well, hold on. Why do you always just right
Your
in
argument's
there?
not based on a false
So
premise.
I mean, you can't handle it. I get it.
Your
You're a
argument's
kid.
based on a false premise. Why do I
You're a
even tell you?
child. Yeah, thank you. So no. So once again, when it comes to illegal immigrants, I was bringing up earlier that states are holding back crucial info that would allow the federal government to find illegal immigrants. So sanctuary policies tend to actually end up protecting criminals because it helps criminals hide within sanctuary cities. So it's, yeah, you say based, but guess what? Hold our fucking beer. That shit's ending soon once again.
Okay, so again, if states aren't compelled to participate in Medicaid, why would states be compelled to give over information about their residents?
Illegal immigrants. No, that's the difference here. Is it when it comes to illegal immigrants, they're not under the jurisdiction thereof. So it's not the states. It's not their thing.
It's the state's information. They don't have to hand it over.
Yeah, in regards to the citizens, absolutely, but not
No,
illegal
or
immigrants.
the
Those
illegal
people
immigrants.
fall
What are you
under the
talking about?
executive.
Okay,
Immigration is
I'm
under
sorry.
the executive branch.
I'm sorry. What statute compels states to give over information about illegal immigrants? I'm sorry. What?
Here, give me a second. Well, actually, I might have to leave to go find it, but if you want, I can even send it to you in DMs. I won't forget.
God, this boomer doesn't have a computer. Okay.
I don't want to go fire up the fucking laptop and do all that right now. It's all the way in the other room, and I'm on my bed, relaxed, with a drink.
My back hurts. I herniated my knife disc last year.
Oh, Shunny boy, it's okay. Don't worry. My constipation. You're muted, homie.
Is everyone reading right now?
No one's reading. No.
No, I feel like there's some people in here reading right
Everybody's
now.
arguing though.
Okay.
No.
I'm
Oh,
just
I was
check-
reading. I was looking up. I was trying to find something in Colorado, in Jefferson County, as a matter of fact.
Oh, you know what?
There was
Maybe I
a
can
particular
look it up.
case. All right. There was a particular case at some point in the past where the Jeffco Sheriff's Department actually removed ICE from courthouse property, because they were intimidating people as they went in and out of the courts. So they actually made them move down the street, and they were required to do so by Jefferson County Police while they were waiting for somebody to come out of the court.
What was the legality of that?
It turned out to be legal. I had looked this up before. I was just trying to find it again, but ICE ended up, or the federal government ended up taking them to court, and it was ruled that we have the right to do that because it is a county building, and that county building happened to sit on a very large campus. So they were able to move them blocks away and could not even see the front door of the courthouse.
They can still arrest you as long as you're on public property. The second that they walk off courthouse property, they can detain you, and that's legal.
Yeah, I understand, but they couldn't even. They were forced to move to a place where they couldn't even see the front door of the courthouse to see who was coming and going.
So, like, here's my issue with all of this is all of these sanctuary laws that you've put in place have basically enabled the federal government to say, well, if your local law enforcement isn't going to back us up, then we're just going to have to bring in more federal agents, AAA, even the military, to assist in that. So, like, you guys are almost setting this up for your own demise because now you can't complain when the federal government says, hey, your local law enforcement, your state law enforcement isn't going to help us out. Our federal agents are under attack. Now we have to bring in the military to protect federal agents because you said local law enforcement wouldn't help.
I would argue that's unconstitutional as well, and I think we'll find that out as these cases go along.
I don't
Unconstitutional under what clause?
I'm sorry. What world are you living in? Of course it's constitutional. They can bring in ICE agents anywhere they want to.
Yeah.
Not ICE, the military. She just talked about the
They
military.
actually can, and I'll bring you the statute. 1 second. It's federal law.
Yeah. Posse comitatus can't be used unless in a state of invasion or
Insurrection.
uprising or something or another, whatever it is.
This isn't posse comitatus. This is a separate federal law.
I got you,
1
Indo.
second.
Sorry.
You are talking about using military on American soil, though, and that
Hey,
could go against
just-
posse comitatus unless in certain circumstances.
Hey, just so you know, we have been using the military for like protests and stuff for the longest time. We did it during Rodney King. They had the Marine Corps deployed to LA during the Rodney King riots, so we've been using them for ages.
In and around federal buildings.
And let me
In and
tell
around
you,
federal
we were
buildings.
so happy when they came because if you were living and you got to see the streets of Los Angeles like I did during that time, when the National Guard and the military showed up, everyone was so relieved.
So the
I'm pretty
military
sure-
can
I'm
only
pretty
be
sure
in and around federal buildings.
I'm
That's
pretty
it.
sure in those
They
instances.
can't be used as a
No,
police
they can
force.
actually
Not true.
protect federal agents in their federal line of duty. So they absolutely can be there to protect them. They just can't arrest citizens or do that. Well, they can if they're
I have a
obstructing.
left-
Do you think our military can protect
Yes.
ICE agents?
Well, so
Yes.
Title 10 U.S.
That's
Code
crazy.
252.
It's already been ruled on.
Yeah,
That's
it's
crazy. No,
it's
it hasn't.
federal law. So if you want to pull up Title 10 U.S. Code 252 and read that for the class.
That's right. Read it for the class. Thank you, Millie. That's what I say all the time.
You can go ahead and read it for the class.
Here, wait, what?
252, use of militia and armed forces to enforce federal authority whenever the president considers unlawful obstructions, combinations, and assemblages or rebellion against authority of the United States, make it impracticable to enforce laws in the United States in any state or by any ordinary course of judicial proceedings. He may call into federal service such the militia of any state in use of armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or suppress rebellion. So it is absolutely constitutional
it
under the
doesn't-
Supremacy
it
Clause.
doesn't-
That's Article 6 of the
Yeah,
Constitution.
Yep.
it doesn't say the military. It
Oh, and
says
cringe.
militia.
That's
literally
that's
does. What is
Operation
armed
Guardian
forces?
Angel that
Yes.
Bill Staley is using. By the way, just
Yeah,
if you want to read
it-
it.
Okay,
it
I'm
would
sorry. That
Specifically
doesn't- I don't
applied
know.
to an armed force, or it would have named an armed force if it was talking about the military.
It
Is the
does,
National Guard a state militia?
Okay.
but it doesn't.
What?
It
And armed forces
specifically
is our military.
it specifically says when the president considers unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages or rebellion against authority. That is not the same thing as a sanctuary city simply not carrying out federal law. That's a totally different thing. And that's part of the contention a lot of us have with the way that Trump has characterized sanctuary cities. We're not blocking federal agents from taking action. And to take the step to send in the military or even threaten it is an escalation beyond the bounds of either this law or posse comitatus.
Okay,
Then
well,
Blossom, what happened in California then specifically? Because you said that they weren't trying to obstruct ICE, which they literally were trying to obstruct
Wait,
them.
what law enforcement was obstructing ICE?
No,
No, not law enforcement
No, it was the
specifically.
people.
when
Okay,
the
so you're referring
civilians
to
are
the
trying do
people.
that. Yeah,
can I get
so-
the big
so-
box
And
for
how does that
Thursday?
have anything
Can I-
to
Yeah.
do with sanctuary cities?
Yeah, so Blossom, when
Wait.
you said that the local law enforcement is not going to come in and assist when they're trying to obstruct federal law enforcement, then they have to call in actual other federal agents to come in and do that.
Wait,
or
that's not
activate
what
the
I
state
said.
militia.
That's I
But
don't
then you
think you
didn't hear
understood.
what
What
I
I'm
said.
saying is that for purposes of carrying out immigration law, you cannot require local law enforcement to do that. Equally, local law enforcement cannot block
said that
federal law
also.
enforcement from doing that. What happened in
Nobody said that.
LA was that there were
Civilians.
protests that got out of control, and the state and local law enforcement was not blocking the federal government from doing anything.
That's not what she said.
What I'm
No, that's
saying,
exactly what
Blossom,
you
is
said.
It just shows you're not tracking the conversation
No, I think
whatsoever.
that you're responding to something I didn't say. I
That's
recognize
not
that
what
I was
she
Trump,
said,
never
Blossom.
responding
I
to you in
recognize
the
that
first
Trump
place,
can declare
Blossom.
that any resistance to his desire to carry out the federal law, however he wants it to be done, is somehow now an assemblage that requires military
Okay,
force
you're
to
not
counteract.
tracking.
That's
Then
an
you have to actually
escalation
track the
that I
conversation.
believe is outside the
You're
bounds of
talking
this
about
law.
a conversation that I never objected to. The issue being is that
Okay,
you
then
weren't
we agree,
tracking
Millie.
the conversation between me and Mojo.
All right.
Yeah,
and
so
real
what
quick,
I
since you
said
guys agree-
specifically that you ignored is over the fact that when you have laws that say that the state and local government are not going to assist in enforcement, then the federal government is already under the impression that they're not going to get assistance from the state or local law enforcement in any capacity to enforce these laws. So when civilians try to obstruct law enforcement, then they're automatically going to turn to bringing in the military or activating state militia or bringing in more federal agents. So
Except
you
that-
can't turn around and complain and cry when they do so and say it's unconstitutional.
Except that the
would
state
also
did
like to
step in.
point
The
out-
state was handling it. That's where you think I'm not tracking, and I'm explicitly
They weren't.
addressing that. The state,
That's the
local law
whole
enforcement
point.
was addressing the protests on the ground. That's why Gavin
No,
Newsom said,
they
"Don't send them
weren't.
in." Whether or not your position, whoever's talking approach, I think that's you.
Yeah,
Whether or not you
you're
think
talking
they were
about my
doing a good
city.
enough
That's not
job is
what
not the
this-
same thing as whether or not they were actually taking action as state and
No,
local law
no, you're missing
enforcement to
the point
stop the
here.
protests.
So there
No,
were bad
this is
actors.
two different conversations.
It's not.
Hold on.
It's the same
Hold on.
conversation. This is on the screen. This is just for cringy to read about the supremacy clause and how.
No, I did. I did read it, but this is explicitly talking about California obstructing ICE agents in the affirmative, as in like they're taking
Well, their
an action
access to information and so on. So the city is picking and choosing federal laws.
aiding and abetting.
Will not.
Can I just say thank you really quick. I don't mean to jump in, but I just want to say I appreciate the people who got me to my 5 subscription goal. Let's go, baby. Sorry. All right, go on. Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
I
But I
appreciate
also
it.
do want to. I do want
Thank
to
you,
throw
Dan.
this out there real quick. At the very beginning of when ICE came into LA, both CHP, LA County, and LAPD made public statements on their social media platforms, explicitly saying they would not help or assist ICE in any way, shape, or form. So the only reason that they even showed up in the first place is to mitigate the unrest that started. And they said that they were not even going to be there to help them in any capacity other than to maintain law and order. And then once law and order broke out, that was why Donald Trump sent in the military.
Real quick.
That doesn't.
I have a approach up here right now. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
approach.
you can take me out. This was just to show
okay.
that the supremacy clause, prohibits any city from picking and choosing
Yeah,
federal laws, so on. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a second. I'm sorry. Approach. So cities and states aren't required to enforce like federal murder statutes or federal
Yeah, because that's
fraud
not
statutes.
immigration.
And they aren't and they aren't required.
Schmurder is a
and
state.
they aren't required
is a
to-
state
Asking them
thing.
to.
and they aren't required to enforce federal immigration law either.
Yeah, well, this
We're
would
not
say
asking
otherwise.
them to.
This would say that they're
so you
not
got a
allowed
statement
to. Hold
from
on,
somebody in
hold
Trump's
on,
DOJ
hold on.
cabinet.
All right,
I
go
don't
ahead. I'll
care.
wait.
They're wrong.
Get it out. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, you got a statement from somebody from Trump's cabinet. I mean, I don't care. They're just wrong.
Oh, great. Yeah, the supremacy clause actually is wrong. So, anyways, no. My point
Not
is
what I
that it's not about the state doesn't have to use their assist, but they can't prohibit and block the executive branch from doing executive authorities. So that's all that this
What does that
clause is
mean?
talking about. And so
What does
right
that mean?
now we'll see what happens. Once again, hold our fucking beer, and Bill Aselli's going to go in. This lawsuit's going to go through, and we'll have access to prisons, DMV records, and all that great shit, and say bye-bye to fucking sanctuary cities. Okay.
Oh, sure. I'm sure. So, does the federal government just have access to like, I don't know, like Medicaid shit for states that don't want to participate in that program?
Well,
Is that something the federal government has access
well, once
to
again,
enforce?
the expansions to Medicaid, which expanded Medicaid to illegal immigrants here in California.
Not what I was talking about.
No, but so the
State and federal funded.
government doesn't
Yeah.
have to do that. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they
a real
stop it.
question that Californians I have yet to hear answer is that if federal funding wasn't contributing to their Medicaid program, their Medi-Cal, would they be able to sufficiently fund the normal, everyday American citizen and their illegal immigrants? Would there be enough
I
funding?
don't fucking care. They're a fucking donor state anyways. Why the fuck would
Well,
I
we're
care?
slowly losing our
Running
donor
a
status. We're
deficit.
no longer the biggest donor.
I said, okay, Millie, I don't care. It's California.
But
Big economy.
like that's
Big
what
boy.
he asked. The answer is that even now with all the federal funding they receive without any cuts, they're still running a deficit, and largely because of their Medicaid program.
Yeah.
Same with New York.
That was my point of my question. It's not like like I'm not trying to
Well-
sound like, oh yeah, I
that-
understand that they give a lot of money to the country in terms of federal funding, but
I haven't looked into the numbers, but I know that because of the different laws and the crazy taxes between 2000 and 2003, what was the number? It was like 250,000 top earners moved out of New York, and I'm sure it's very similar here in California, with a net loss of $18 billion in city tax receipts. So I'm sure it's very similar here in California, which means it's going to continue to be a net loss. They're just bad leadership.
well, I'd be
It's just-
interested to
well,
know the consensus of the everyday Californian citizen, at least, in terms of how they feel about their funding, their state funding going towards illegal immigrants' healthcare.
I
That's
would argue that the majority of people in sanctuary states agree with that policy.
No, come to a sanctuary state and start asking people.
well, even if
live
it's a
in
majority,
Colorado.
what would you
I
think?
live in Colorado.
Well, even if it's a majority, what do you think? What do you think the divide is? Do you think it's like, 49-51? Like how big of a gap?
I think it depends on the votes. I think all Democrats I've ever met, and most Democrats in the state for sure, would absolutely agree with sanctuary status for immigrants.
Gross.
Colorado.
You don't have to like it. I mean, you're probably not going to agree with me on anything, but that's
No.
that's just the way we do.
I don't like it. I'm a big believer in immigration, but I'm also a big believer in taking in immigrants legally. But I also think that those numbers should be limited as to help people assimilate to our society.
That's interesting. Yeah. So illegal immigration or removal was an 80-20 issue for sure. It might have gone down a little bit, but I think to remove illegal immigrants, it's still pretty high. It is
Who started?
majority.
Who sent out originally? What talking points or what date was that talking point sent out?
it was
by the RNC for 80-20.
well, the
When did that
80-20
come
issue was pertaining mostly to illegal immigrants who have already committed crimes, but as a whole,
No. You use this for everything. You guys use this for everything.
No.
80-20.
No, I wasn't using it. I
80-20
was
all the
reading
time.
I was reading a comment, and yes, the whole point was in terms of illegal immigrants who have committed like heinous crimes. That's the 80-20 issue. Now, in terms of actual like deport all the illegal immigrants, it's anywhere between, depending on what poll. I just did a video on this just the other day. Depending on the poll, but it is the majority. It's as high as 64 and as low as 54.
Yeah, and the majority is very stupid for suggesting that, which is
That's cute that you feel that way, but I don't really give a shit.
Okay. So let me ask you this then, host or whoever wants to answer. I don't really care one way or another, but real quick, you guys agree with legal immigration, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Almost every one of us do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hold on. Yes, to a certain extent, it needs to be limited.
Yeah.
Obviously for a balance. Very low levels.
Well, I also do think that it should be a little bit easier because over half the American population.
All right. So you want to pick and choose who comes in.
Absolutely.
duh.
Yes, that's the way most countries do it.
Duh. Yes.
Also, to be fair,
Wait, so you want to pick and choose? who
Yeah.
comes
So
in,
for
is what you're
instance,
saying.
Mojo, I was moving to Japan, right? But I couldn't move to Japan unless I had something to
Okay, never mind. I don't care about Japan. Never mind. I don't care
Shizuka
about Japan. It
baka
doesn't make a
American
difference to me.
desu.
It makes no difference to my point. It makes no difference to my point.
Well, who do you want to let in?
Let me make my point.
Economic
There are
opportunists or people who bring value to the
11.5
country?
million. There are approximately 11.5 million undocumented people in this country right now. Our country's doing just fine right now, right?
Who's depending on the
I
numbers
would
you
argue-
agree with?
Our GDP is growing. No, our GDP isn't growing.
No, I'm just
Our
saying.
stock market isn't.
No, what I mean, what I was saying is in
The
terms
people
of
aren't getting more
numbers.
wealthy in this
You're not
country.
hearing what I'm saying. I said in terms of numbers, it depends on what stats you're willing to go with in terms of how many people are here illegally.
Okay, I don't care. You pick the number. It doesn't make a difference.
It's
to me.
between 11 and 20 million.
Unrealness.
I don't really
Pick any-
care.
pick any
You
number.
can pick 100 million if you want. I don't really care one way or another.
What were you saying, Millie? Sorry.
so
Someone in the comments said that California was running a surplus. I just wanted to correct them on that.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, if you want to correct them on that.
Surplus when Gavin or Nuisance or Newscomb or whatever, when he came in.
They keep having to pull from their reserves. their
Yes,
safety
and
reserves.
we're absolutely drowning $1.7 trillion in debt statewide. We're not doing good.
Can I get the
Have you
big box
Yeah,
for a second?
absolutely.
And I'll just show those.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I also just want to say, like I was trying to say earlier, most of us do want immigration because it is beneficial to the country if you come in the legal way. If you're coming in the illegal way, that also
I see
you're
the
gonna be
source. No,
undocumented. So
it's beautiful.
it's going to be easy for companies and easy for
Okay.
other people to hire you and take advantage of you.
All right, let
Real
Millie
quick,
take the.
I'll get this
yeah.
out of the way. I'll get this out of the way real quick. So the prior year, that would be negative, right? We have expenditures, revenues, and transfers. That would be a negative, okay? And they keep having to pull from this little safety net reserve that they have. They keep having to do this, and they've had to do this multiple times. And you can actually see it in their actual layout of the budget right here, transfer from the budget stabilization account, rainy day fund. They keep having to pull from their reserves because they keep running a deficit.
Yeah, I see that.
They just need to increase taxes. They'll get there eventually.
Yeah, they just more taxes. Keep taxing.
Wait, hold on. Why do you think New York lost those 250,000 people between the 2000 and 2003 per controller report? I mean, it's why they lost those people. Just tax them more. It's okay.
I'm pretty sure it's gentrification.
You're so philosophically
New York's
swindled. Get outta
getting
here.
increasingly gentrified.
Yeah, taxes work so well. That's why every major company is pulling out of California.
I'm really sorry for the people in my chat who are saying I don't have a Third Reich haircut or the hairdo today. My apologies. All I did was take a shower and just let her flow. I get called I get called a schmatzy at least once a day.
No, it looks good on you, but at least you don't have a stupid faux hawk like me right now. God, I fucking hate this haircut. Good lord.
I was gonna say, where's the 88 tattoo if you're part of them?
Definitely no tattoos like that. I have tattoos, but nothing like that. Yeah, it's just I mean I don't need a haircut. I just got out of the shower and I'm like that's fine. Just click go live. You're fine.
Honestly, your nose is
Thanks,
much
Sandy.
too big to be a schmatzy. But
My nose is too big. What are you talking about? I got my nose is normal size. What are you
Bro, look at you. Look at, dude, unrealness, dude. I could already tell you're so insecure, dude. Every time someone says something about your face, you're like, what are you talking about?
I mean, we all have our insecurities, right? That's why I go to the gym 6 days a week.
You're good looking, dude. Stop it.
Thanks,
You're
bro.
good, you're
Oh, stop.
good.
Stop.
Yeah, you're fine. Just deal with it. You're good.
My insecurities are what keeps me from jamming McDonald's down my throat every day. Because I would. You give me a double quarter pounder, bro. I
Slayer,
will
what are you
inhale it.
crying about, you little shit?
I'm telling you,
Slayer in the comments all night.
capitalism
Fucking
capitalism really optimized for like the most labor and the smallest amount of
little shit.
I have a question for host. If
What's up?
the polling is showing that this is by and large an 80-20 or a majority.
No,
favor
it's a
coalition,
majority. It's like 54 to 64 in terms of deport
Yeah.
all illegals. Yeah.
Why is Trump underwater on his approval
You
ratings?
set your goal. He's not.
On immigration,
He's
Under what are you using? What are you using in terms of your?
I
different places polled.
Well, yeah, let's see.
showing that they are all around 52 to 56%. And if you go to Real Clear Polling, I think isn't that one of the respectable ones these
Yeah,
days?
yeah. It brings it's a cumulative. Yeah, so it brings all the polls. Is it Real Clear? Or is it something like that? It's real.
Yeah, Real Clear
offense.
Polling.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Pew Research, so
Yeah. No, we're good. Real Clear Polling takes all of the different polls, right, and then it just works out the averages.
It's not Real Clear. It's something else. It's close to that though. Hold on.
Nobody knows. She's probably busy.
Yeah, but
Yeah, just look up RCP. It's Real Clear Politics.
Yeah, so his job approval on immigration, YouGov, he's at -2 as of 6:30. NPR PBS Marist has him at -8 as of 6:25. The RCP average is from May 28th to June 30th, -2.8. So 50.1 disapprove, 47.3.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remember that CVS has TDS booster shots available, and it comes with a free Happy Meal.
You
Really
have
quick, what are the Democrats running at right now?
It's called,
What are the Democrats as a whole running at right now?
Oh, I recognize we're not favorable, and I'm happy to tell you why I'm mad at the Democrats. But my question is just that if this is something.
Well, I mean,
that's
you have
favorably-
to contrast the two, right? Because I think that Americans as a whole are just not happy in general.
Sure, but specifically on this issue, if it's something that Americans want, why are they disapproving of Trump's performance?
What poll are you referring to specifically? So I can check the poll itself. How many people were involved in this poll that you're so hinged on?
So Real Clear Polling, the one you guys sent me to, their average has a series of different polls. So you have The Economist, YouGov, with 1,491. NPR PBS Marist had 1,206. Kinnipack had 980. Fox News 1,000, and Fox News is underwater by -7 points. Harvard Harris 2,097, underwater by 2 points. Pew Research 5,000, underwater by 6 points. He was last positive on an NBC News desk decision that ended on June 10th, and he had a spread of positive 2 points.
June
That
10th.
was of 19,000
Can
people.
we just
That was a month
say this? I think it's so curious. You know, we look at polls, right? But then if you really dissect them, if you look at not only where they take the polls and what type of people, sometimes they come from landlines, which that drives me crazy. Number two, the type of questions that are asked. I just when we look at these polls, I just don't fucking give a shit about them. Well, go ahead. What up, cringe?
Have you heard of TDS before? It's called Trump Dick Suck Syndrome. I think you should look into it.
Oh, so you're such a child. Good job. I knew you were waiting.
That was a
put one
knuckle
out.
drag
You waited
comment, bro.
long and hard for that one, didn't you, buddy? Because you like to wait for
I
long and
think
hard.
this is maximum cope for dealing with the fact that you lost overwhelmingly both the executive, the House.
Oh, I don't want to hear it, bro. J6 was like ultimate cope. That was Omega copium right there.
Yeah,
You know,
the
it's
American
funny- hold on,
people
hold on.
voted overwhelmingly for this agenda. We saw that play out in an actual election, not like a poll on the internet or whoever calls up and actually participates in polls. We actually saw the voter base go out and vote for this decision. So I don't know why we're rehashing this for no reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
Yeah, he got 5 million.
Popular
votes.
mandate, though.
Biden
Based.
did, right?
You like that, cringe? I used your cool lingo. Based.
I also want to bring up how he mentioned January 6th. It's crazy how you guys all jump on Jan 6th, but none of you guys speak up when in 2023 over 100 protesters in the Capitol got arrested. Pro-Palestinian protesters that broke into the Capitol got arrested.
Well, let's not forget about January 6th. What was that one where all those trans
you
people
can just
went
think
in the
about
Capitol
you can just
building?
think about the other day during the what was it No King's Day when they were when they broke through the barricades into the Capitol and they rushed the building too. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Or how about just yesterday when we had an ICE agent or a DHS agent who was or a Border Patrol agent rather who got hit in the neck and they had to unalive somebody, and there was a bunch of people that got detained and arrested who were a part of that group.
Well, what about just a couple weeks ago when two Democrat representatives out of Minnesota were shot, one unalived, by a right-wing extremist.
Right-wing extremist based on what? Whoa, I love this. Please show me his voter registration, and I might agree with you. Show me his voter registration.
Wait, why would I show you his voter registration? Well documented.
It's not well documented.
Yeah, it's well documented that
he
he was a pro-life right-wing nut job.
That's false, and you cannot show me his voter registration, can you?
He had a manifesto in his car. What are you talking about?
He literally had he had a No Keynes little whatever sheets all in his car.
He had flyers.
Yeah, No King's flyers. Interesting, huh?
Stamp on some piece of paper.
I mean, he was-
So he could blend in with the crowd while he
Sure. Copium. Yeah, show me his voter registration.
Well, yeah,
show me his voter
that was written in the
Show me his
manifesto, too.
show me his voter registration.
That was written in the manifesto.
Show me his voter
too.
show me his voter registration.
His list.
Show me his voter registration.
His list was
Show me his voter registration.
His list was all
You're
Democrats.
no
His list was all Democrats.
That's great, but show me his voter registration.
It doesn't even matter because that's an open primary state, right? So it's actually quite known that I think.
I guess Democrats can't be Christians. I want to make that.
So do we notice here? So that he was working right for the governor's office. Who's the governor?
He was appointed to a council. He also had Waltz on his list of hits.
He did not.
I'm pretty sure he was, and
he
even
did
if he
not.
wasn't, I think Klobuchar
And
was
then-
on
and
there.
Where's his voter registration? Is all I'm asking. Where's his voter?
Where's
Why do you want to know about his voter registration?
How
when
can you prove he
know
voted
that
for
he's
anyone?
targeting
How can he vote?
Democrats?
How can he vote? How can you prove that he voted for Trump or MAGA or Republicans if you can't show me his voter
Nobody talked
registration?
about who
I
he
didn't-
voted for.
Well, how
Yeah,
is he?
I didn't.
How is he a far?
Targets were.
How is he far right? That's why I'm asking.
Because of his manifesto. Read the fucking manifesto.
Is manifesto of just names? That's not a manifesto of intention. That's just names.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is not in the affidavit, by the way, in the court filings in regards to this, because I'm looking at his court docket right now. Can you show me where the manifesto is included in this document, or just show me the manifesto in general?
I don't know.
Okay, so now you don't know because you said very
don't.
confidently
I don't.
he had a manifesto
we
and
said-
someone
Millie,
that
Millie,
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 hold on, don't overtalk. I know you're getting dog walked, but tell me where this manifesto is within the court
That's so
documents.
That's funny. I
Do you
have no
think they
idea.
were
Well, you just
the
sat there and-
manifesto out of discovery? Is that
I haven't
your
looked at the
actual
court documents. It was in his car. They
Okay,
showed
so let's
pictures of
see.
it.
Let's see it.
Yeah, show me the manifesto. Let's see it. Yeah.
And show me why the FBI.
and while
would
you're at it,
leave out
Pictures
a
of it. It was in his
manifesto.
car. Everybody knows that it
Show me.
exists.
Oh yeah, you know what else was in his car? A bunch of flyers said "No Kings." That was what was in his car. Yeah.
Again,
What?
Yeah, everybody
what?
knows this. This is all out in the open.
So
It's not
why are
like
we?
I'm
So why are
hiding
we?
something.
So why are you claiming that this
I'm not
guy was a
giving you
far
any kind
right
of information
extremist?
that you don't already know.
So what?
Because the entire target list his entire target list was
Yeah, and what was the votes on these on some of these targets? What were the votes? What was it going against?
I don't.
What was it going against?
I have no
were they?
idea.
Oh,
I
you
don't know.
think
I
it's
suppose
going
you could
against
compile-
healthcare? But didn't his neighbor or something come out and say that?
Oh,
he
the
was
guy
a
who
Trump
called Tim Walz,
supporter?
Jim Walz, and Joe Biden, Jim Biden. That guy,
Oh, so you just wanna
that greasy
discredit all
weirdo.
the
Yeah. By the way, he had a
information
wife and
that was
kids.
against-
Why did he have a roommate? He had a wife and kids. Why did he have a roommate?
I'm not familiar with him having a roommate, but I do know that he had ties.
This was
to,
his
like-
roommate. This is the
like
guy you're referring to, by the way, is his
literally-
roommate. The guy you're talking about is his roommate. Why are you speaking on this if you don't know what you're talking about? This wasn't his
So you
friend. This
think-
was his roommate.
No,
This wasn't just his friend. It was his
pretty
roommate.
sure it was his neighbor, but regardless, we do know that he had
You're
a
so
manifesto
lost.
that was targeting
What?
Democrats, right?
What? Show me the
Targeting
manifesto.
Democrats.
Show me the manifesto. Show me the whole
Well,
manifesto.
we know the names have been the names. There are pictures of the manifesto online that show that he had lists of
Copium is
websites
fucking real from the
that
leftists.
helped him. Wait, what's the copium? Because
The
didn't
copium because you're making shit up. Show me the manifesto. Show it to me. Show me it. Show me the manifesto.
isn't the
Show me the voter
FBI
registration.
acknowledging
Show me the
this?
manifesto. Show me the
Why
voter
should I
registration.
show you the voter
Because you
registration
can't.
when-
Because you have no idea what you're talking about. You're
No,
insane. Go on. Show it to me.
Well,
Bring it up. I'll give you the big
I
screen.
would-
I'll give you the platform.
And I would
Show
ask,
it to me.
I would ask Blossom, what did all these people in the manifesto, what I mean, or his hit list or whatever, what did they all have in common?
All right.
I'm asking you, Blossom. what do you
Vance,
know? I'm asking
Bolter.
you what they all had in common.
If I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, they're talking about, or It was because everyone agreed to cut the funding for the illegal immigration.
No, only a couple of them, but if you look into all of them, they all worked with Republicans and were bipartisan, working with Republicans at different points. So that's not in a I'll tell you this. So that's just like California, just like Colorado. These are what we call blue strongholds, right? And blue strongholds, let me tell you right now, the Republicans and the Democrats, they do not work well together. Okay. So I can tell you that right now, that all the committee members here in California that are Republicans are just being dismantled. And I'm sure that in that state, it's probably the same thing. And the fact that all these people were very partisan and worked with Republicans, they all had that in common. So I'll land that there, and you can do what you want with it.
Okay, so here we go. Let's see. No evidence. No evidence. Hold on. I was asked to provide this information, so let me just tell you what I'm reading. No evidence linked shootings to vote about immigration health care. Before a suspect was named, conservative users on X circulated theories based on the lawmakers' recent votes. However, that was wrong, although Hortman was the only Democrat who voted with Republicans to pass a budget bill that would remove adult immigrants from the U.S. illegally from state's Minnesota healthcare program. Hoffman voted against the bill that would end such coverage. So why did he shoot both of them? Later on, Bolter's online voter registration record includes no mention of his party affiliation.
When they're both at the door.
The New York Times.
This is an opinion piece, by the way. You're reading an opinion piece.
CBS.org.
You're reading an opinion piece, weirdo. You're reading an opinion piece, weirdo.
The New York Times reports the state.
You're reading an opinion piece, weirdo.
Reports in 2016 listed Bolter's political affiliation.
Put your opinion piece away. Stop talking. You're reading an opinion piece. Opinion piece. That's so cute. You can read an opinion piece. I'm so proud of you.
Described himself
oh my gosh, he's the best.
Bolter's current roommate.
His current roommate, who called Joe Biden Jim Biden, called Tim Walz Jim Walz. Yes. By the way, they didn't call
lately.
Sure, whatever. Your opinion pieces are so cute. You're so adorable.
Carlson said
You're so adorable.
Held strong anti-abortion views in the 1990s.
You're so adorable. I'm so glad you can read. I'm so glad you can read an opinion piece.
You do this every time you start.
No, I'm not getting my ass handed to me. Shut up, dude. Shut up. Dude, why are you such a weird fucking white knight? No, you're a weird white knight, dude. Shut up. Nobody wants to touch you, dude. Just stop. Just stop.
So fucking weird. It's so fucking weird.
No, you call me names. Shut up, weirdo.
Wow, come on.
I don't care about an opinion piece. Listen, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? Is all I'm asking. I don't have a manifesto, and I still don't have voter registration. There was no manifesto. No, she was reading an opinion piece. What she was reading, weirdo.
I just told you.
Mojo, opinion piece. Mojo. It's called an opinion piece.
Hold on. Let me.
You report in a Republican primary. Show it to me. Show me his registration. Show it to me.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I just showed you.
Hold on.
No, show it to me. Mojo, show it to me. I'll give you the big screen. Mojo, go ahead. Show me his registration. In the state. Show me his registration in the state.
You already did. I already showed you.
You didn't show shit.
It seems Mojo is bad at this. He might not be cut out for this because he's using something that we know it's an open primary state in that state.
Crazy.
Yeah, and he voted in the
Yes, let Melanie go over the court documents. Let's go over the opinion pieces.
This is important because we're not looking at fucking media. We're looking at shit that has been submitted into court as discovery and their affidavit in the case. So while you guys are claiming there's a manifesto here, there's actually not a manifesto. You're making a claim that has not even been made within court. This is the notebook. Hold on, don't cut me off. Don't cut me off.
Remember when you told me that what's submitted in court might be wrong?
Hold on, this is not an opinion piece, Blossom. You just read me an opinion piece, weirdo. Let her go.
I read you court documents.
You read me an opinion piece. You read me court documents earlier, and I said they were probably wrong.
About Abrego Garcia, and you told me that.
Yes, because we're talking about you because you tried to defend a guy who beat his wife. Moving on.
Exactly. So you can't hold the same standard.
I'm not. I gave you the big screen to read an opinion.
You are.
No, I'm asking for this here, right? I want to see a manifesto. All I ask you is for a manifesto and a voter registration. That's all I ask for you, and you cannot provide that to
You're
me.
going to trust Millie's court documents, but you're
I
gonna
just
tell
want to
me
see
mine
all. Listen,
are
did I say?
wrong.
Listen, did I say I'm going to listen?
Yeah,
Did I say?
no, I just wanted to
Blossom,
point it
did I
out.
say? Blossom, did I say I'm going to trust these court documents? Did I say that at any point in time? Or are you just
Well,
asserting?
you said it's
Are you
great.
just
We're not
asserting?
listening to opinion
Are you?
pieces.
Why are
We're
you
in the
assuming?
court documents now.
You're giving me opinion pieces, sure. I just want to see the court documents. That's all I'm saying. I didn't say I agree or disagree with him at this
I'm
point in
just
time, did
asking
I?
you to be consistent.
Blossom, I am, because I haven't said I agreed with what she's showing yet, have I? Are you this
You
dense?
did earlier. You were very
All
excited
I want
see
to
court
do, yes,
documents.
I am always excited to see court
Just
documents.
admit it. You can't hold the same standard.
No, I am holding the same standards because I'm allowing her to present.
Walked by Millie. Okay,
Oh my
just
God.
admit it. Come
Yeah,
on.
At no point in time did I say I automatically agree. Did you
very excited for
no
these
no
documents,
you
so
are
let's
I
hear 'em,
can't
Millie.
wait to see him. Yes, I'm excited to see him. Aren't you?
Go
Okay,
ahead, Millie.
so
Let's see this court document.
Is this the manifesto that you're talking about? Because there's no mention of a manifesto within these court documents, within their complaint or within the affidavit. This is the only notebook that they have put photos of within the actual court case. Okay? There's no manifesto even presented within discovery. There's the mask, there's this outfit, there's all of this other shit. You guys are claiming there's a manifesto, yet the FBI just forgot to include the manifesto in discovery.
Wait, I said explicitly they had pictures online of the notebook, which had lists of websites where he was doing due diligence on his,
You moved the
his
goalpost.
targets.
No, you're not going to get away
No,
with
that's
that.
what
You
I
guys
said. I
listen,
did not claim that there was a manifesto that explained all of this.
You both claimed and doubled down the fact that there was a manifesto and that it had a list of names on it, and there's no list of names.
No,
Now
there
you
is a
moved the
list of
goalpost
names.
to
There is a list of names.
websites.
That has been reported by New York Times. I don't believe that
New York
pictures have
Times
been
doesn't
shared.
So
fucking know
where
shit.
from what source though? That's what I
From
wonder.
what
That's why I'm asking.
source?
What source? Where are they getting these names from?
There-
They haven't shown any
Could there
evidence.
be- could-
U.S. Senator Tina Smith said in an interview that the suspect had a list of about 70 targets, including herself, other Democratic lawmakers, and doctors, community and business leaders, and locations for Planned Parenthood and other care centers.
Okay,
So
why isn't
the
that? Why isn't
Senator
that
of the
being
United
presented?
States.
Listen. Why don't you ask? Why are you not asking why this hasn't been presented?
Oh.
Isn't that like a
Because
legitimate
I
question?
haven't looked at the court case. I follow.
Hold
I
on.
don't look at all the court
Blossom.
cases.
Is
Right,
Tina
so why are you
Smith a
taking it-
Democrat or Republican? I'm just
Why
wondering.
would that be relevant? I mean, she's
Well,
a
just
Democrat. I guess it's
Shouldn't you-
relevant in that she
if
would
you're
have
so
been to a-
convicted, if you have such conviction, wouldn't you want to know, like, to actually see the list of names? Or wouldn't you want to see that?
Well, I'm certainly upset by it, but I can't read everything all day, every day. I read a lot.
Right,
and
but
I
why
read
you
the
why
news
you
articles about
why
it.
why are you so 10 toes down right now if you haven't seen the list yourself?
Do you think that the senator lied about the list?
I think she could. You
Very
wait. Do
well
you think
possible.
senators always tell the truth?
The court documents.
I think it's a pretty serious thing to suggest she lied about, but it's also, I believe, also been stated by others who were on that list because they had to be notified that their security was at risk while they were looking for him.
Do you think there are any
So it
Republicans
was
on
an
that list?
important thing for them to know.
Blossom, do you think there are any
Reset your
Republicans on that list at all?
There very well could be. I don't know.
Okay, so why do you think it was really convenient that she didn't mention there were any Republicans?
I don't think she explicitly didn't mention that there were any Republicans.
But she explicitly stated there were a lot of Democrats, right? So why wouldn't she say any Republicans?
Well, maybe she didn't know whether there were any Republicans.
Well,
but
she's seen the list, so she
that's
would
her
know,
statement.
right? She's seen it,
Listen,
so
I'm
she would
not
know.
in Tina Smith's head,
Wait,
but that's
but
what
you're
she
siding.
said.
But you're siding with her because you believe that she's
I'm
always telling the
siding with
truth.
her, yes.
Yeah. Well, why hasn't the list been presented? Why are you so 10 toes down on this? That's
Could there be a reason? Could there be a reason that there is evidence that's not actually presented in a court case?
I think it's real convenient if this was true that she would avoid. I think it's strange that she would avoid the
Can you
possibility of
imagine-
Republicans.
Can you imagine that there would be a reason that there's evidence?
Well, she's willing to
that's not
name
presented
names,
in a
but she
court
can't.
case?
But she can't give the whole list. Don't you think that's strange?
So you can't answer my
Funny
question.
Mojo.
I'm answering your
That's
question. I said, do you think it's convenient that she didn't name a single Republican? Do you think
I'm
it's
talking about evidence as compared to what was,
evidence?
documented in the court
what
case.
evidence?
The list.
There's no list. We haven't seen it. What the fuck do you not understand? There's no list, dude.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Can you
Show it to me.
imagine a reason?
Present it.
Can you imagine?
Show it to me.
Imagine a reason.
No, I can't, because
Imagine a reason.
I can imagine a reason why she would lie. Yeah.
All right.
Because it's real convenient for narratives to show that only say that Democrats.
Challenged. I gotcha.
No,
I gotcha.
there's no evidence. If she is so willing to say it was all Democrats, I think that's a little suspicious.
Let me finish this statement. I understand.
No, you know what's so funny is I get called a bootlicker, but when obviously you're a bootlicker, it's so fucking fun. These people, Democrats, guys, do you think it's possible that there is at least one Republican on that list? Can you at least say that there's at least maybe one?
I already said it was possible.
Okay, so why didn't she mention that there was at least a Republican on there in her statement?
I don't know. I'm not in her head.
So why are you siding with her then?
Wait, do you think that what are you suggesting, that she's lying because she didn't explicitly state?
I'm suggesting she's lying by omission, yes.
Hold on. Are you saying that she's misrepresenting it because in a statement to the press, she wasn't explicit as if she was filing a court document?
It's lying by omission, yeah.
Okay, so then you are saying that the U.S. Senator is lying about the fact that she and other Democratic
I think she's lying by not including all the information.
You don't have any evidence to suggest
and you don't have any evidence to suggest what you're. Why are you backing her? You're the one backing her. I'm the one questioning. You're the one who's bootlicking. I'm questioning your bootlicking.
You're making an assertion that she's lying.
No. You're a Democrat little bootlicker.
Like what she's saying.
You are I don't like. It's not that I don't like what she's saying. Is that she doesn't. She's not being honest because she's lying by omission.
How is she lying? You can't prove it.
How is she telling the truth? You can't prove it.
Well, we'll find it because someone said that the list is in one of the
maybe you should be skeptical.
Why should I be skeptical?
Oh, so a Democrat says it, so it's okay, right? So
no,
a Democrat.
Why
are you? Wait.
What suggests?
Wait. A Democrat.
Besides the assertion that he has a voter registration.
Listen, the funny thing is like a Democrat says this shit. Listen, everything else, a habeas corpus, all that shit we just went through for fucking 2 hours. You just like, oh, this is how it is. But in this moment, with no evidence, with no print, with no fucking stop stepping in. Stop. My insinuation is that she's a bootlicker. She's a partisan bootlicker. I'm asking questions while shut up. Let me finish. I'm asserting that she is taking sides because it's real convenient for her narrative. She's a partisan little bootlicker, and I'm sitting here asking questions, and I'm the problem. I'm the one saying, you know what? Maybe there was a Republican on there, and she at no point in time said that there was a Republican on there. This Democrat, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to take her word for it. Don't you think that's problematic? No.
No, I never said that there were no Republicans. I told you that it's very well possible Republicans were on there, but it was clear that Democrats were targeted.
So do you think she was lying?
What Republican was shot?
Do you think she was lying?
Why do you keep asking the same stupid question?
Oh my God! Can you stop white knighting her and let her answer for herself? You weirdo!
Asked and answered.
Oh my God, dude! Let her answer.
Answered.
No, she didn't answer. No, she didn't answer.
Yes,
She's a partisan little bootlicker, and so are you. You little white knight weirdo.
I'm a partisan hack. Yes, I am absolutely a partisan.
That's crazy.
I'm a fucking Marxist.
Listen to you.
Sake.
Listen to you. Listen to you, dude.
I'm a partisan.
Are we supposed to be ashamed about something we're saying right now?
No, because you guys are so fake and fraudulent. You're just disgusting little weirdos.
Fake and fraudulent before
fake
it was
about
bloviating.
what?
Oh, you are bloviating. You are always bloviating. The whole
fake about.
If there's a manifesto,
where's the manifesto? Where's the manifesto? Show it to me.
Mojo, if there's a manifesto, why would the FBI exclude this in discovery when they're looking for the motive and the backing for why this person committed this crime? Why do you think they would just leave that out of discovery?
They might leave it out because it was tampered with by reporters or in some sort of the process while they're doing the investigation. That could be a very good reason why it's not included. It could also there would be a number of reasons. Maybe there's some extenuating statements in there that don't have to do with this particular case. That don't have to do with this particular case, and therefore it can't be included. There was some mishandling by police officers. There's all kinds of reasons that it wouldn't be included in a court case.
Yeah, so again,
but it existed because it was shown in the car on the day.
Fallacies to a manifesto that you can't connect to the actual court case because
where do you think those pieces of paper that you were looking at came from? Where do you think those pieces of paper you were looking at came from?
No, they came from notebooks. It talks about the notebook. It even talks about the fact that they even talks about the fact that they were looking at certain legislators and they were using search engines to do that. However, they have not produced
but those pieces of paper that you showed.
You
those
guys
pieces
said
of paper
very
you
confidently about this.
Those pieces of paper you showed came from notebooks. What else do you think was in those notebooks?
That's a causation correlation fallacy, and I think that you know that.
I'm asking
that
you a
you're
simple
bullshitting.
statement. I am not making a fucking
I'm
claim.
asking you to
I'm
produce
asking
the
you a question.
manifesto.
I'm asking you a question. What else do you think was in those notebooks, and why were those pages ripped out?
Objection, speculation. Thank you.
I'm asking you
Yeah,
a
objection,
question.
speculation.
I'm not speculating anything. I'm asking you a
Listen,
question.
All right, yo,
am I-
You're asking me to speculate.
buddy, I can
is
only
what
deal
you
with
want
so
me to
much
do.
TDS and like,
yeah, this
intellectually dishonest
partisan
conversation.
hacks.
Yes,
I
I
got
did
a
ask you
white
to
knight
speculate.
weirdo.
Can you not? You can't speculate. You
Why do you
never
white knight so
speculate at
hard?
all.
Why? Yeah, you can speculate, but you're doing it. I want to see proof, and you're just assuming that every person on this list was a Democrat, just like Blossom.
I didn't. I made no such fucking claim.
That's
I also explicitly said that it's very possible there were Republicans on the list multiple times.
but you
when
just told me you
asked
said she wasn't
to
lying. You
explain-
just told me this Democrat wasn't
You're
lying.
beating the crap out of a straw man right now.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
you
asking
really
you.
are.
It's really simple. It's a simple question. Do you think she was lying?
No, I don't think she was
She
lying.
answered that fucking question.
Okay.
30
So
times
did she
already,
name?
for Christ's
Did
sake.
she say there were Republicans on the list?
No, I don't think that she was obligated to be like
But-
a complete and accurate when she's talking to the press and
She
making
specifically
a
stated.
statement.
She specifically stated there were
She
Democrats
said
on the list, right?
Her well,
Answer
and
my
wouldn't
question.
you think-
Did she
hold
say?
on, wouldn't
Did
you
she
think-
say
hold on,
Democrats were
wouldn't
all on the
you
list?
think- Wouldn't you think that
Hold
when
on.
she was
Answer my
notified,
question.
Can I
No,
explain my
no. You
answer?
need to answer my.
Because
You
you've
need to
asked
answer
me
my
multiple
question.
times, so let me give you more
Blossom,
context, 'cause I think
understand
you
my
might need
question.
it.
No, understand.
No, I think
I'm
you
asking.
might need to hear
I'm
the
asking you a
context
question.
around why I'm answering you, so that you understand.
You're a
and boom,
partisan
don't ask
hack.
me
You're a
again.
bootlicking. You're a bootlicker.
I know you want to call me
You're
names.
a
You keep
bootlicker.
repeating yourself, but let
You're
me
a
give
Democrat
you a
little
full
bootlicker.
answer so
It's
we can have a real
adorable.
conversation
You
here.
and Mojo, you guys are so cute. It's hilarious.
Bro,
Thank
why?
you.
The fact
why
that
So
she,
let
the
me
fact that
answer.
she, the fact that she wouldn't even mention Republicans tells me that she is lying.
I'll tell you what, host. I think you're the one who wanted to make some sort of wager with me earlier, right?
I didn't say anything about a wager.
Who was the
Wrong
one that
person.
said something?
Oh, he's
about a
gone.
wager?
Well, that
He's
was
going to bed.
approach.
Okay. Oh, approach. Shit. All right. Sorry. I thought it was you. I was standing outside when I heard it, so I wasn't looking at my.
It's all right. I forgive you.
You guys sound the same.
I just want to see. I just want to see the manifesto. That's it. That's it. That's all I'm asking, bro. That's it.
You have seen pictures of parts of the manifesto.
What do parts mean? What does that
Those
mean?
pages. That's what those pages.
Show me the
are.
rest.
What do you-
Show
Where
me
do
the
you
rest.
think the pages came from?
So show me the rest. Show me the rest in order to prove to me that this person was a far right wing fanatic. Show everything to me. Why aren't they showing everything?
Wait, I don't know
keeping
what
it-
I don't know what would prove to you that he was a far right wing fanatic.
I
because
want every
you
bit of information.
You have made,
Because-
no. You need, yeah, you do.
Because
you would rank a-
because this Democrat
you could see
ran
his
ass state.
Palantir profile, and
why
you would
won't this
still
state?
say
Why won't they
he's
release it?
not, he's a Marxist.
Why won't they release
Nothing would prove it to you.
it? No, everything would. If you give me everything, put it
Why
on the
would they
table. I'll believe
release
it.
They-
Because I don't
they
like to.
hold back manifestos all the time.
They're gonna
Why would they?
filibuster.
Why would they give
Oh
other
my
people
God.
a list of names to pursue?
No.
What do you?
The FBI is just
what
going
is
to
your-
leave the written down motive that the Pew Pewer wrote down in handwriting. They're just going to leave that out of their affidavit and complaint. Makes
Sure.
Well,
sense.
they
Could've
might
been
file
mishandled.
it, Millie. You're familiar with sealed filings, right?
There
We've
is no
talked
sealed
about that
filings.
before.
There is
I'm
no
just
sealed filings
suggesting that
here.
maybe they would submit it in a sealed
There isn't.
filing. The case is ongoing, isn't it?
I'm looking at the filings right now.
Paratransit
There is
break.
no submission of the manifesto. There's not even a mention in the complaint or the affidavit about a manifesto.
Wait, but again, there's a discussion about a notebook, and we can argue about whether or not a notebook is a manifesto, but that is what we're referring to when we talk about it.
Yeah, you're making a causation correlation fallacy. You're sitting
I'm
there
not
saying
making a
that because
causation
there's a
correlation
notebook, there is a
fallacy.
motive written down in the notebook. That's what you and Mojo have been trying to speculate at,
Yeah,
and you
she's
don't have
trying to
evidence
do
to
some
back
logic
that up.
bullshit right now.
That's a weird thing to
Fucking
call a
straw man.
causation.
Oh my God! It's not a straw man. You guys are just assuming
your
that this
point? What is your
Democrat
purpose?
representative
Hey,
said
Snowflake,
no. Let
Snowflake.
hold on.
Wait,
No, get the
Snowflake, what
fuck.
is your
Dude, get the
purpose?
fuck out of here,
What-
dude. Let me answer really quick because I got to wrap this up, guys. Somebody has to pay somebody's food stamps tomorrow. Unfortunately, it has to be me. Listen, really quick. My whole point is that the fact that she didn't mention a single Republican, which is highly unlikely, is very suspicious, right? And that's the only thing I'm saying. I have yet to see a voter registration at all. I have yet to see a full manifesto. And so I remain speculative, which you should be. It's that simple. That's all I'm asking is to see the whole fucking thing. But instead, Blossom and your little white knight weirdo, Mojo, You guys are just saying this Democrat representative is telling the truth. That is fucking crazy. I would never agree to a Republican doing the same thing. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Blossom?
No, I think you're crazy.
No, I think you're delusional. I think you're insane.
I love you too. I actually do have to go. I have a job as well. Thanks for having me, host. I appreciate it.
It was fun. Yeah, we had a good time, Blossom. Next time. Oh, fucking God, dude. And I'm supposed to be a part of a cult when all I'm asking is questions. I'm just asking questions, Millie. Help me out here. Am I crazy?
You're not crazy. They said there was a manifesto. They were asked to produce a manifesto. They couldn't produce the manifesto. The manifesto is not in the court documents, in the complaint or the affidavit. There's no mention of the manifesto. There's simply, now there is a list, right? It does say that in the affidavit, but they have not shown any images of this list. They're just saying that there is a list, but it doesn't say who's on the list, and they haven't shown any photos of that list. But at the end of the day, they're saying that there's a whole ass manifesto which would put out the motive, and they just happen to leave that out of the complaint and the affidavit. Just doesn't make sense. Also, tell Truth Faith that discovery should be out within the next week, but this type of stuff would and should be mentioned in the complaint and the affidavit.
All I'm asking for,
all of his rights to a detention hearing and all of that shit.
yeah, all I'm asking for, and I think it's just strange. The biggest part I think is strange is that this Democrat representative, they're just taking her at their word. That's it. Like, they mention Democrats, and people don't understand that you can lie by omission, by not mentioning shit. That's still a lie. And all I'm asking for is the actual list of names. That's it. I just want to see it. They might be correct. I'm not saying they're wrong, but they're so concerned with being right that they ignore the fact, or the possibility, I'm going to say actually a fact, that a representative could lie when there's mountains of evidence that representatives lie all the time, both Republicans and Democrats. I'm just not taking things at face value, and they are. That's my problem. That's why she failed to mention Republicans, and that was the only thing I was asking for. That's it. That's not a crazy thing to ask for. I feel like it's pretty logical to be like, you know what? I have questions. Why wouldn't she mention that was there no Republicans on the list? Zero? Interesting. Fascinating.
No, I mean, the most disingenuous part of the night is both of them making the argument about the Fifth Amendment, knowing that fucking Dred Scott was already ruled upon. And then when I specifically asked her about it, she acknowledged that she knew what it was. So one, it tells me straight up that you were intentionally being disingenuous because you knew that that was already a court ruling, and you tried to work off the fact that someone might not know about Dred Scott. That argument had already been made, but yet they tried to play coy like they didn't know that that was a court ruling.
Yeah, they tried to jump forward or jump back based on different rulings on different. It was, and I was trying to keep up. Listen, I'm not the best at remembering every law that's passed since 1803. So I was trying to keep up with some of that. So as everyone was talking, I was trying to. It was a lot. That's why my face was looking at my other screen the entire time, because like, in terms of like precedent laws in the past, it's really hard to keep up with a lot of shit. I just really hope that the Supreme Court is using these precedents, which is the point of them, to apply what they're applying. And I kind of just go with that. I understand there's partisanship when it comes to judges, even though they're not supposed to say they are, but I understand it is a very real thing. We can't ignore that fact. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. We'll see what these court rulings do. And here's the thing: I'm willing to be wrong. These people aren't willing to be fucking wrong. It's crazy. I can't do it. I can't do it. I gotta stay out of the law stuff. Millie, anytime law stuff comes up, I'm gonna call on you. I'm gonna go to the Discord and be like, Millie, I need you in here right now because my brain cannot handle this.
I still learn a lot every day, right? And I challenge myself a lot by bringing up attorneys from the other side to, toss the ball with about what I think is going to be the outcome of this case. And the universal injunctions is I was pretty right on and spot on about the
Me too.
inferior courts not having the authority to do that with the executive branch specifically, that they were abusing the Judiciary Act.
Yeah, it was judiciary supremacy. And I've said this for months, if not at least 6 months of this whole process, that a lower court judge can unilaterally decide the fate of the country, of especially when it pertains to foreign affairs. Like, that is crazy. And I defended this both for Democrats and Republicans. Like, imagine a Democrat president in the future, if there ever will be one, and they are just constantly blocked. How would Democrats feel about this shit? Like, think about that.
They would whine and cry and be pissed off all the time.
And you had AOC, right?
I do want to tell True Faith, because he was very confident that the universal injunctions wasn't going to swing our way, and I told you this would happen. And I might not have a law degree, I can openly admit that, but I have to admit that I think that it was pretty clear and cut and dry based off of the Constitution and the Judiciary Act. So I don't know. I don't know. I still learn every day. So don't feel
I
bad.
will say my bread and butter is law enforcement stuff, and that's why I came in swinging right off the bat when they were talking about the military being used in the LA protests and riots. I know my stuff on that. I have gone to college for criminal justice, and I also study it on the side outside of college as well. And so, obviously, like I mentioned before, during the Rodney King riots, they deployed the Marine Corps almost instantly when that popped off. And so it's not a new thing that they have deployed the Marine Corps to hot zones for riots and protests. It's not new, and it will always be a thing.
All right. With that said, guys, I have to go to bed. Millie, appreciate you. Indo, and everyone else, I appreciate you. Well, get the fuck out of my live right now, though. Goodbye. Go to bed. All of you. Go to bed. All of you. And everyone in here, even the shit talkers, I love you. This is not the way I thought those. Every time I do a live, it doesn't ever go the way I think it's going to. But I will say I'm educating myself on exponentially. Like, it's crazy how much I've read in just like the past week. I feel like I can sleep for like 3 days straight at this point. Anyways, I want to give a shout out even to the Blossom lovers in here, even though me and Blossom obviously didn't get along. Let me put on my glasses so I can actually see. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm a little blind here. To Tori, to Luis, Malibu, Ray, Ines, Debs. Who is this? This name is like really small. Wild Sugar. A big shout out to Red State. By the way, Red State is great. Red State Rhetoric, fantastic channel on here on TikTok. They are amazing. He does a great job at moderating debates. Leona, Moke. Let's see. I can't pronounce some of these names. You guys have some crazy names. CT guys, and I'm also giving shout outs to people who gave, who donated to the panel. This was a crazy Davis. How do you pronounce this? Zoe. I'm going to call you Zoe. I'm not going to try to commit to that. Jay. Who else we got? Ron, obviously. Ron, Betty, huge. Blue, South, thank you. Let's see. Rosa, Prosecute, Messy. Let's see. Crosby Girl, Rage. Big shout out to Rage, big homie. PC, Jim. I cannot read that. You guys have some crazy weird names. How do you do those characters in there? Bethy. Let's see. The Real Harry. Unknown. Great name, by the way. Let's see. Dana or Dana. It might be Dana. Sorry. Miss. What's this? Miss Poppy. And of course, I'm shouting out people who obviously, gifted the panel. Huge for that. Logan Emperor. Guys, thank you for the heart. Me is in the gifts there as well. I love you.